All right, welcome back to the Network Podcast. Today we have a very, very special episode.
What number is it? I know we said we were going to stop numbering the podcast, but it's number 22, isn't it?
22.
F.A.M.E Team 22.
It
was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
That was good.
That's crazy.
So here we are, my newfound family and friends. Yeah.
And on.
You're part of our family now.
You're the new Jack now.
Just found this guy outside.
I know. Literally, I was just roaming around. I wasn't even meant to be here.
We do a podcast, mate.
And Sloan was like, "Oh, is that you?
Are you alright?
Yeah.
Are you lost? Oh, Sloan. What a coincidence."
Do you want to have a chat?
Yeah, so Lee had to set up the extra mic for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you want to introduce the podcast, Lee? What today's going to be about?
Yeah, today is just a nice, open, candid conversation with the team. I thought it would be a nice idea to get everybody on. Share whatever we need to share. Stories, insights, how we're feeling. I think we're going to have to do another one as well. I have this idea in my head that we'll do one now. And then we'll do one at the end as well. Kind of see our perspectives and how we've grown and who we are then. But yeah, thanks for coming on, everybody. It's
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
It's quite an
thanks for
honour.
having us.
And yeah, it's cool. So does everybody want to introduce themselves?
Who wants to go first?
Ladies first.
Start
Okay.
end.
Okay, I'll do it.
Do I look at the camera?
No, just whatever. Look at us.
Whatever,
Whatever.
Well, I'm Celine Celia. I work at TK Studios and I'm a hair colorist. Do I need to say anything else?
No, I
Yeah,
guess you
and
want.
I'm-
Whatever
yeah.
you want. Yeah.
Yeah, part of F.A.M.E Team 2022.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome. Maddie.
Hi guys, I am Maddie Robinson and I love the attention.
That's right. She's in
Allow them in the middle.
I'm a 7. I'm Maddie Robinson. I am Technical Director for Tony and Guy Mossman and Technical VADA Coordinator for Tony and Guy Australia. And I am part of F.A.M.E Team 2022.
Woo!
Woo.
I'm Matthew Ashton, also known as Ash in the industry, but yeah, I'm a freelance hairstylist and owner of Studio Parramatta. And yeah, I don't really like talking about myself, but yeah, that's what you're gonna get. Yeah, I don't know what to talk about, but yeah.
Awesome. And Lee.
Lee.
Lee's member number 4 of the F.A.M.E Team. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to be like Graham Norton today. Alright, I'm just going to be the one asking
Put
all the
the chair
questions.
backwards.
Yeah, my name's Lee Windsor, and it's quite funny how we do this a lot, like introduce ourselves, and yeah, I don't even like to label it as a hairdresser or anything like that. Just say I'm a curious human being, and yeah, I do hair as well. So that's it, and all the rest of the stuff comes on top of it.
And I'm Owen McCarthy, and I just retired from haircutting. So
After this.
I'm full-time
I'm not
Graham
even
Norton
joking,
now.
I've actually just retired, so
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll talk about that a little bit.
Well, yeah.
What happened?
Oh, fucking hell, what happened? Look, we'll get into that another time, I think. But yeah, I've taken a step back from working in the shop, not taking any more clients, stepping into education full time, and yeah, just taking a little bit of a break. I have this itch that I want to scratch. I want to go like travel a little bit around Australia. Been looking into vans.
What sort of places do you want to go to?
Stripping things back, like getting rid of everything. Don't know. I'm just open-minded to it. I think right after Hair Festival, me and my partner were talking about it last night. Shout out to Hannah. She gets mentioned in every fucking podcast. Literally,
Shout out to Hannah.
You're in trouble if not.
She gets mentioned in every podcast.
Make sure you mention me.
But yeah, we were talking about it last night. I think right after Hair Festival, I'm just gonna take off for like a month or so and just see where it takes me.
Love that.
It'd be interesting.
Love
But
that.
I feel like, and it's the same thing for you guys now, I guess, being part of F.A.M.E Team. I guess you're kind of put on this kind of,
Journey.
I guess you're highlighted to the industry, everyone kind of gets to know who you are over the course of the year and beyond. And, for some of you guys, it's well before that too. But Lee and I, in our journey, we've kind of been highlighted like that too in multiple different ways. And I feel now that it's almost my responsibility to like push it in a different direction or take things in a different way. So to be able to step back from the shop, do something that's completely out of my comfort zone. It kind of shows a good example to other barbers in the industry and other people that it is possible, you know. And if it goes to shit, then at least I'll be the one that suffers from it, you know.
At least you got some lessons in there,
Love
right?
it.
Like, yeah. The conversation.
It won't though. It actually won't. It's really
I don't
interesting.
You
It's
gotta
really, it's
trust
really
it.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think because you know, it is a big thing to step into that fear and kind of just take. That's my means of making money, you know, and I just took it out. But it'll be interesting to monitor it over the next couple of months and just see, will I actually be in the same position?
But I think the
Yeah.
experiences you gain along the way and the people you meet, you'll come back bigger and better than ever.
Yeah, 100%. I think I need to just take some space and detach from a lot of things, and yeah, see where it takes me. But
Love it.
it'll be interesting.
Well, when you come to Sydney on the journey,
I will, yeah.
we'll take
I'm
the
sure-
opera out.
I'm sure. I'm sure you guys you're gonna see me a few times throughout the year anyway. So, but anyway, look, enough about me. We're here for you guys today. But yeah, who'd like to start?
Yeah. Should
On
we take
their,
it back to the audition day? I think that was a really
Yeah.
kind of interesting moment for all of us, wasn't it? Like, how did you feel?
I was actually like really nervous about that day because like I feel like the industry's only just getting to know me, and the thing for me when I went off and did my own thing, it was like I didn't really want to focus on the hair industry, the people, you know what I mean? I would meet people at different events and there was so many politics involved and cliques, and especially in Sydney. It's probably like that in every other state and things like that. I was just like, I didn't want to engage with that sort of stuff. It's just not me. So for me, I was looking at where can I make money? Like, where can I grow? Where can I create this brand sort of thing? So I focus more on, because like styling's a big passion of mine. So I focus more on like photographers, makeup artists and things like that, and sort of grew my network through there. So for me, like going into the auditions, it was like daunting because like I'd never met anyone, like no one knew who I was. And I think that kind of like worked in my favor as well, because all the judges were kind of like, who the fuck's this? You know what I mean? That was the feedback that I got from everybody. So yeah, for me, like I was stressed, like so stressed, because it was like coming out of my comfort zone. Like it was totally new for me, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like to like explain in one word, it was stressful for me. Yeah.
What did you learn from it for yourself? Like, what was a big takeaway from the audition day?
Like I think the one thing I learned from it was to like trust what I'm like doing, like trust like my instinct, my like what I'm doing, like because like yeah, obviously what I'm doing is like working. So I think to sort of like trust that journey that I'm going on.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah, you were one of the ones I saw on the day. I saw your work beforehand. I was like, oh fuck, this guy's
same.
amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, I remember coming up to you in the thing. I was like, I cannot wait to see what you do.
Yeah, that's like the thing, because it's like, because I've never really engaged with the like the hair industry and things like that, like to have that sort of validation, like isn't like, do you know what I mean? It was a good experience, like
Yeah, awesome. What about you, Salon?
Actually, fairly similar to Ash.
Yeah.
I think because I'd been out of the industry for about 6 years in fashion. And then coming back into hair, a big part of doing F.A.M.E Team was that I wanted to get back into the hair community and really get to meet people and, grow, build my brand. I was pretty nervous beforehand. But then once I got there, I think it was such a good day. Like such a good group of 14 finalists.
The energy was so good on the day, wasn't
so
it?
good.
Like, it was so different to what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be really intense and like really
But
strict.
I think it was different
Totally.
this year. I think a lot
Oh,
of change.
really? Yeah, because you've been there before.
Well,
haven't you?
yeah, true. And even the judges, like just everyone was in such good spirits.
Yeah.
So that then I felt like all the nerves kind of went away once I got there, and obviously got to meet everyone. I worked next to Ash, and I talked to Lee beforehand, which was really nice. So then I think one of the big things I also learned on the day was just to be me, because I think I'd often I'll get too in my head and overthink it and just get too stressed, and on the day I was just like, just go for it, have a good time. And it went well for me.
Yeah, I think that was the one thing that we had to do was you know what I mean, I'm sure all of us had stress, but it was the biggest thing was to just let go.
Yeah.
And once your brain sort of switched that switch and was just let it go, it was that's when everything flowed.
Yeah,
You know?
100%. And just backing yourself, I think coming out of it, and then
100%.
just being just back yourself.
Yeah.
And go
I
for
think
it.
that's one of the biggest things that they look for, really. I think that was one of my strengths, is just backing myself all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody said you're so solid and grounded in what you're saying and doing. I was like, well, yeah, I'm not trying to be anybody else. So, you know, this is what I believe in, this is what I'm trying to do, you know. So
Yeah. And that's most important, because I think at the end of the audition, everyone kept saying, like, asking me, oh, how did you feel about it? Like, how do you think you went?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I feel really good about what I did.
Yeah.
Like, I went in, I know I did my best.
it was sick.
I feel like I represented myself, and I was like, regardless if I get in or not, like, I feel great about it. Obviously, that's great to get in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice.
That's an interesting observation, isn't it? Like, looking around the room, if you think back now, like, I feel like that's probably why we're all here, because we all did our thing.
Yeah.
You know, you did very Maddie things, you did very Ash things, you did very Southern things, and so I did my thing. And there was probably people in the room that were trying to do something that would suit the judges, or, you know, impress somebody.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the journey, and maybe that's what F.A.M.E Team were looking for. You know, people that were just solidified in what they know they can do.
I actually love that you came in and did something like so different. Like your look is something that probably haven't seen before on F.A.M.E Team, and I remember seeing it and thinking, oh, that looks so good. And like for the prep, I was obviously like thinking of all these crazy things to do and bringing it back and going wild again and bringing it back. And yours just like so beautiful and so simple. I was like, that's so annoying. Like, how has she done that so perfect and so beautiful?
Yeah.
And it's you're looking at it, you're thinking, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, it's
that
so
was
good.
the thing that I was like, wow, like with your like final presentation and stuff like that, because when we all got briefed with Jack, like to prepare us for that skill test, like it was like one thing he was like, so don't bring your balayage and your beach waves. He's like, show some depth and some like vulnerability and stuff with your work. And then I was like, oh my god, like you've got
She's done the
balls.
beach
It was
She's
so
got
polished,
balls.
it
was
mattered.
sick.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, you've like, even though Jack mentioned, but like you came with a different approach with it, and I think that's what like everyone was like, wow.
Yeah.
You know?
And I got that
And it
question
showed that
a lot.
like you were very firm on like who you are as an artist, you know, and that's what I was like, wow.
So one of the great pieces of advice that I got, you know, Chris, who turned up at the shoot, Chris Byrne.
Yeah.
He said, and Jamie actually had a little session with Jamie beforehand, and they both said because they know my work, and they were like, I know what you like, Lee, you can overcomplicate it. Similar to what Jack said about like creative concept, make it simple enough so people understand. They were like, look at who's in the room. And I think that was like what with yours, you look at it and you're like, yep, makes sense, beautiful, I get it. You know, and I think that's where I would go wrong with my work sometimes, just trying to make it the most complicated creative thing, and then people would be like, yeah, I get it, but like it doesn't really make sense to me. You know. And I think that's what gets something like that over the line. And like with my look, that's probably the most stripped back like hair for a competition I've probably ever done.
Yeah.
You know, it was just so simple.
Well, I said it because I got it a lot in my presentation. Like a lot of them asked, like, why did you come in and do this for F.A.M.E Team? And also that you have a lot of balls.
Yeah.
Balls.
Which, well, I said big balls, Lee. But I did think, you give him a cup later. I did think about it beforehand because I thought maybe I need to do something more out there and push it, because I was like, oh,
But
maybe
you
I
don't.
It would have been
That was the
authentic.
thing.
yeah,
you
and I was
don't.
worried it was going to be too simple. But then I thought, it's me. Like in the brief, I know it really said like what represents you, and that 100% represents me. And like
100%.
even to like my outfit, which is what I really tried to get across in my presentation, was like everything was thought out. Like it wasn't just like, oh, I've done the nice blonde beach waves and chucked a blazer on, and everything was really thought out, which I put across. And I thought, well, which I said to them as well, if I don't get in for this look, like I'm just not meant to get in. Like this is my vibe.
so
And
nice.
yeah, I want to
that's
get in
awesome.
for what I do. So
Exactly.
and I mean it worked. So
And I think that was like
That's
all of
nice.
us, like that was a like F.A.M.E Team going into it was such a massive learning curve for me. I feel like it was just perfect timing for me. It was accumulation of like the last 2 years of making all those mistakes. Because I would do the same thing. I'd just be like, look at this hair, it's amazing. And then just completely like mess up the styling or just not even
100%.
focus on it. And it was just an accumulation of all those moments, and all the dots just joined. And like you said, I thought about everything from the bottom up, the nails, everything.
yeah.
You know, the makeup, the hair, like it was the whole thing. I think we all did that. And I think that's what stood out from all of our looks, you know,
Yeah.
for sure.
That's
And
interesting.
with the elements of like simplifying and it making sense. I'm sure other people did the same thing, but it just might not have made sense. Do you know?
Yeah, or maybe you couldn't explain it.
You could,
Like, maybe
yeah,
you
and
couldn't
then,
explain what
yeah,
you had created and
yeah,
why it was so thought
yeah,
out for you.
exactly.
It's interesting for me to listen to this because I didn't really see everyone's looks like. It's not like off top of my mind. I've seen what you guys did throughout the audition process, but I guess in the eyes of a judge, in a room where that's a competitive environment, right? There's 12, 13 people, was it something
14.
like that?
14.
Who are all trying to do something so crazy. But sometimes when you strip it back to the simple things,
Yep.
it's just in amongst all the madness, you just see this like, oh, that's quite. Your eye keeps coming back to the simplicity.
Yeah. I think you
And
can really
the-
see in a look like concept, shape, like
Yeah.
they're the important things. Like you can do this most crazy thing, but if it hasn't got a point to it or a story or a shape to it, what's the point to it?
Yeah.
You know?
And like I say, with 14 people all trying to do that, it's just too confusing. You know, for a judge, it's like, there's just so much noise, and they'll just be looking for that thing.
Yeah.
What? Oh, and like something interesting, like Ricky taught us, and something I've heard after that as well was like the eye only ever sees shape and color.
Yeah.
That's all the eye ever sees. So with that in mind as well, like, you know, they're all those judges are human beings. So what's going to draw them to that shape and color? Boom, yours.
And Maddie, you're I would say arguably the most experienced FAME team member in the
I
FAME
am.
team environment.
I am
So,
indeed.
Yeah, how was your experience?
Do you know what? It was really good. It was my second year, and obviously on the FAME team audition, you have to cut hair. I do not cut hair, and haven't cut hair for. I did it in my apprenticeship, rushed through it, didn't touch it again. Purposely don't look at it or touch it. So the first year I wasn't prepped. I did a few haircuts before. I tried sort of dip my toe in, just so I had enough knowledge, and it really messed me up on the day. And I don't think I was ready for it, and I was quite happy to not be ready for it. And I sort of went in with the wrong mindset of like, I'm not ready. It's not my year. This is like a practice run.
Was that last year?
That was the first year, yeah,
Right,
last year. And then this year, I spent pretty much the next year on my days off, cutting hair, prepping, being a more organised person, making sure I had all my looks covered. And it was a completely different experience. Even to the judges were really welcoming, really calming. I felt like a really safe environment. It was just a completely different experience. I think one of my feedbacks was they thought I'd had all my looks ready to go. Like, it didn't matter what the brief was going to be, I was doing that look. But I was just I'd spent every single day of the year preparing for it, that I had 100 looks for whatever the brief could be. And I said to my boss, and she was like, that's really good feedback. Like, you were too prepared. Like, they actually thought you had it set up. But I think just that being prepared made it a completely different experience. And before I went, my friend actually stayed at mine, and she's going, change the narrative. So all day I had in my head, like, change the narrative. Like, it's going to be a positive experience. You're going to enjoy it. If you don't get through, you've done your best. And I think going in with that mindset, again, it's just a practice run. Completely changed the whole vibe. And I walked out and I enjoyed the day. The first day I walked out, I literally wanted to cry. I felt so annoyed at myself, so irritated by the whole thing, so overwhelmed. But this time it was like, I don't care what they think, I smashed that. Like, if it's not my year, if it's not the right look, I was true to myself, I smashed it, I had a great time. Completely different experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really valuable for anybody who might listen to this and want to actually enter FAME team. You know? Not to just if you don't get it first time, not to just give up, you know?
Never. And do you know what? Through the whole year, obviously my own personal growth was massive, but FAME, they kept you on board. We had a lot of sessions with them. The growth that just came from that, the feedback, I grew. I'm so glad I didn't get through that year, because the way I grew from that experience and from, I'm a really disorganized person, and I was so organized. I mean, I feel like I'm still not a disorganized person, but I'm a lot better now because I saw how that actually helped and how that made me feel more confident and comfortable. So that, you just keep going, because Nadia, most incredible avant-garde hairdresser in the world, took her 4 times to get through, and she's one of the best hairdressers in my eyes I've ever seen. But just it's just not your year sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
And it might not
some
even
variables. You know,
And even
Leo-
a team,
we
they
always
want the
speak about
team
that,
to
don't
work
we?
together.
Yeah.
Maybe there wasn't the right people in the team for my personality or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, it might not even be about how you do hair.
Yeah.
It might not even
Yeah.
be that, you know.
Yeah,
It's like,
100%.
where are you at as a human? Where are you, you know?
Totally.
But yeah, one of the big things for me was kind of just zoning in on the brief. That was a big one that I had to learn to do better. Was learn to read a brief. Because again, the advice that I got before, they were like, Lee, I know what you like, and you just want to do everything your way, you know. And again, yesterday with the personality thing, I do crave a bit of individuality, you know, in the work. And it was like, Jamie actually said to me, he was like, there's a time for that, and that time is not now.
Yeah.
He was like, FAME teams, it's not that time. It was like, you need to be able to read the brief and it needs to make sense. And that's what I did, and I built stories around it. And I remember, was it Jordan, one of the judges?
Yeah.
Yeah, he come around and he was like, oh, what's going on here? Because it kind of looked like what I was doing was quite simple. I was just doing a round layer on the head. And I was telling this story, and he was like, it's bloody amazing. It's like, but I had this whole story around it, and that's what I did. I just didn't look at anybody else's work. I just looked at the brief, built a thing around it, and
I think that's what entices you. Even like this week, we've seen Lyndall present an amazing demo for us, and the way she sells that haircut, I want that haircut. I want to do that haircut.
Yeah.
I think about that haircut, just the story behind everything. It sells it.
Yeah, there's so much value in entering something like F.A.M.E Team or even the competition work and that. And we speak a lot about this with the younger people who come to us at the academy and want to get into it. But regardless of the result that you're going to get from entering a competition, it's the growth and the journey you go on as a stylist to even think outside the box, or like you said, Maddie, to organize yourself to a point where you have to meet a brief, and it just gives you all these extra skills that you can carry forward with you in your day-to-day
Well, it's
career.
this whole experience, it's priceless. You can't buy this experience. And even though, do you know what I mean, what we're doing, there's structure involved in the whole F.A.M.E Team and stuff, but our experience is going to be different to next year. And our experience is different to what they did last year. Every year it's different, you know, and that's what I love about it. You can't recreate this. You can't, this is just once in a lifetime opportunity that it's you need to take the most out of it, because you will never get this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Has it been different to what you thought?
It's totally different to what I thought. Wow, I don't even know where to start. I thought what you see online and stuff like that, and I was saying this to Jack as well, I was there's so many people involved in this. You see the mentors and the people involved, but you don't actually see the people behind the scenes. There's so much support and love, and people are actually so passionate about this program that it's almost a little bit overwhelming. There's so many people that really want you to do well. You know what I mean? Yeah, it gets you a bit emotional, thinking about it. It's there's so much more, there's so much depth to this. It's really hard to explain. I don't know how to explain it, but
I agree with you. I think that's what stood out, how much heart and love and how many people give their time to come in. Yeah. And you can just feel it, even the last few days. There's so much love, support, and just to share with us.
It's kind of we're in the arms of the hair industry right now.
Yeah.
You know, with
really
these little
nice.
babies, and everybody's so willing to help us and give us advice, and it's quite a special place to be, actually.
Yeah,
but it's
really nice.
it's also as well, do you know what I mean, we're this is the second week we've done the mentor week. Even the first one was different to what this week's been but it's not just about hair as well. It's also personal development. It's also
100%.
understanding yourself, your creativity.
100%.
It's all about you. It's do you know what I mean, what can you bring, what can you achieve, and things like that. It's just the whole journey is just, it's about you. It's kind of it sounds a bit selfish saying that, but do you know what I mean? It is. It's it's about
100%.
figuring yourself out, creatively, spiritually,
brand
personally, everything. It's it's one big it's the experience is so much more than what I was expecting at the beginning.
That's incredible. It's lovely to actually see all of you guys and be with you and hear all of this, because it's a very encouraging thing to hear for the industry, because there's a lot of people, I think, in the last couple of years who have just maybe lost the passion for it, or they're getting out of the industry, and there's not been a lot to kind of be excited about. So I feel really excited for you guys and the journey that you're about to go on, and the people that you're meeting. Like you were saying, it's priceless. You know, in a day you're spending time with Lyndall, Jamie, all these
these
people
are people that you look up to. You
Yeah,
know?
it's incredible.
And you're oh my god, I'll never meet them, or you'll meet them at say the HFAs or whatever. I'm I love your work and stuff like that. But they're it's so personal. They're down on your level, and they're how you going, mate? You know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's so real and raw. Whereas there's no in terms of the class and stuff, there's structure to it, but it's so it's we're hanging out with our mates kind of thing. And that's the experience that I'm saying. You can't buy that. You know what I mean? If you were to do
100%.
say that course with say their companies that they use, there'd be so much structure. We're doing this, and doing that, and this is what the things we need to go through. It's hang on, how was your weekend? You know,
You get personal, don't you? You get vulnerable.
Yeah.
You get personal with people.
Been a lot of tears already, hasn't there?
Oh my God, so
A lot
many
of
Good
nights.
tears,
emotion.
good
Yeah, good
tears.
tears. Yeah, good tears.
Yeah, no one's wanted to quit yet.
Yeah.
Crying is cool, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Hashtag
Owen's
crying
coined
is cool.
that. Yeah, crying's cool.
I know. I wish I could just do a bit more of it myself. But
Come on with all your cries. Yes,
Me and
David
Ash
does.
kick off the tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a really emotional person.
go first.
you know, like, so for me, like, it just like little things can like make me cry. Like, and I feel like I'm a very like person that can pick up on people's emotions as well. So like when I see that someone's sad, like I can feel that as well.
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think
Even-
that the ability to express your feelings and your emotions, that comes out in your work too. I would
Yeah.
imagine,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Because we kind of grow up in this society where it's all suppressed, isn't it? Everything is suppression based.
Yeah.
So the ability to be able to express your emotions is great. So I take my hats off to you.
Yeah.
I feel like even like last time, I remember saying to you, like coming off that last mentor week, I was like, I haven't felt this good about hair in a long time.
Yeah.
Like that's how impactful it was on me. It's been totally different to what I thought it was going to be. Like totally different.
Yeah.
It just got me really excited.
Hopeful.
To keep doing hair, I think it's exactly what I needed at this point in my career. You know,
There's divine timing, isn't there, in everything? And I think, you know, me witnessing Lee's journey so far, since he kind of came into my life, it sounds like we're a couple.
You pretty much are.
Yeah.
You pretty much are.
to be honest, we spend pretty much as much time together as I do with Hannah anyway. So, and we basically are a couple.
and we share beds.
Yeah, sometimes.
We actually do.
No, we share
Nothing
beds.
wrong with that.
Save on the budget.
Oh, there is.
As long as your clothes are still on.
Yeah, it's weird. There's a bit of coupling.
That's it. It's a
There's a
bit.
bit of coupling.
But yeah, to witness Lee's journey so far, I think this is like a perfect year for him to be involved in the F.A.M.E Team, and
Yeah.
you know, I think you know, I'm proud to have watched that and watch you grow and watch you get to this point and really step into your power as well. You know, when I first met Lee, he was quite a shy, timid guy. Like when he joined the area, very
Couldn't imagine
quiet.
it.
I know.
Like, well, if you think back to like I was probably so stuck in my 5, you know, like yesterday,
Yeah.
in unhealth in that way,
Thinker.
you know, so
Yeah.
Time on your own.
reserved in it. Yeah.
I think coming to area at the time would have been quite overwhelming as well for you. Like you probably found it a bit difficult to kind of find your feet at the start. But yeah, since we kind of jumped into the academy and started doing that, I've really seen Lee come to life, and I think the F.A.M.E Team is going to give him a lot as well.
And I
you
think,
know.
like, do you know what I mean? Like, this whole experience, like, when you were just saying that, like, love just came to my mind. Like, I feel like love has got a lot to say to that because, like, do you know what I mean? Obviously, there's, like, a connection, like, there's a love there, you know? And I feel like, do you know what I mean? If you haven't had, like, that sort of experience where, like, do you know what I mean? You were shy and timid, it's like there was no love or, like, there was no support there. So, like, and you need to be in an environment where there's love, and that's what helps you grow, you know what I mean? There's a connection of love.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the kind of angle that we're coming at more and more with the academy now. It's like the haircutting skills are kind of, they're just happening, you know, like that's
Yeah.
just happening. But like our main kind of purpose and our goal is to bring people to the next part on their personal development journey, or like we're trying to build and inspire people's lives through hair. And I think, you know, having these types of conversations is the start. You know,
Yeah.
I think we're starved of it. In
I
the
think when
industry.
you've got a company that you've built up so well, for example, your company or Tony and Guy, whatever brand it is, people come to you, they expect that. They don't come to your they come to your courses or your salon or your whatever. They expect that good knowledge. That's not what they're coming for. They need that extra level of heart, soul, because they know they're going to get that.
Yeah.
So what else do you bring to the table that's going to make you special? Because they expect that from you at this point.
And what does the world need more of right now? Does it need to see another skin fade, like, or does it need to see?
I think it does.
Or does it need?
I think I can do, yeah. They can never be enough.
If you want that,
I've not seen it for a while.
if you want that, we can do it too. You know, we can do it too.
Definitely do it.
But yeah, I think we
Yeah.
need some more connection, love, spread a better, more positive message. Forget about all the nonsense that's happening. And,
Well, the industry is changing so much that we spoke about it a lot this week, haven't we? About like, you know, you don't smack your apprentice for not cleaning the floor anymore. Like, and it is that heart and that soul and that change of, again, just changing the mindset of everybody and putting that kindness and that love and that bit extra into it, because that's what we want from the next generation.
Yeah, I always have this funny thing that I say, like I've said it loads of times on the podcast, but hair, if you really think about it, it's such a ridiculous job. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. It is.
Speak for yourself.
But if you
After
think
shock.
about,
You're like, how dare you?
sorry, mate, if you get the real me now, no.
That's what he really thinks.
in terms of like what we actually do, like, you know, think of what we need as humans. You know, we need to survive, and after that, once we survive well enough, we're like, what are we gonna do now? Let's start cutting and colour each other's hair.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, but that's why it's so cool and beautiful, because if we could get back to seeing it like that, it becomes fun again. Why are we smacking an apprentice because they didn't do a certain thing? Do you realize how ridiculous this job is? Like, why aren't we all just loving each other and just enjoying it and being like, we're all just expressing fun shit here?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Making ourselves feel good, making them feel good.
where did it get so like regimented and like
Intense.
Serious.
who can say how serious or right or wrong someone is in the hair industry? It's actually ridiculous.
We're not doing open heart surgery.
Yeah.
But I think it's also like that old school, like, you know what I mean, my like apprenticeship and things like that, like working for people. And like, I fell into hairdressing, and so I didn't really know who was who, but fortunate enough for me, like, I ended up in salons where there were quite well-known people, you know, in the industry. And like, I feel like I don't want to use the word ego, but that's probably what it is. It's like, do you know what I mean? There's like a pecking order to them. Like, I'm here and you're there, and you're going to stay down there. Like, you know what I mean? My apprenticeship, like, I didn't even know what products were and things like that, and like be like, oh, can you go get me a wax? And I'll bring the wrong one. It'd be like a pomade or some shine thing, and be like pegged at me, like, you know what I mean? Like, you got the wrong one, and it's like, it's almost humiliating in front of the client.
Yeah,
You
it
know?
is.
Yeah.
And
that's
so like,
that's personal traumas too, though. They'd be going through their own stuff, you know.
And
Well,
so,
they've
like,
been through that before. Before
Yeah.
they were the apprentice that got
exactly.
like
That's
that.
the same thing that they had.
It's just breaking
Yeah.
them.
But now they're breaking. I feel like we're breaking that mold,
100%.
which is so nice
And I
now.
feel like-
Seeing people come up in wellness and health,
Yeah.
and just more love being put back into it. And
We have no
saying
choice. We have
yeah.
no choice but to break it, you know?
Yeah.
Otherwise, nobody will
get
actually
no
enter
staff.
the industry.
And
Well,
that
that's
is-
already happening, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
going down with us
And
finding.
I don't blame them. Like,
Yeah.
who the fuck wants to sweep the floor? This
Yeah.
day
I
and
think
age,
like 5
you know?
years ago, I remember having a conversation with somebody, and I said, like, if I ever have a child, it will never be a hairdresser. Now I'm like, I hope it is. It's going to be the best, like, most exciting thing for it. But and there's so many different opportunities you can do with that. But like, when I came out of my apprenticeship, I was like, no way would I put anybody else through this. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
But you know, you get to this stage where, like, you're on F.A.M.E Team, you get to do all these amazing
Oh yeah.
things.
Now my
Like,
apprentice,
how
I'm like,
exciting
just
is
sweep the
it?
floor for a few more years and it'll be amazing. Like,
Yeah.
look what you can do. Look what I
And us showing it people a different way. And I think, you know, getting back to even what I said at the very start about showing people a new way of doing things, being that example. I've had such an unconventional route in the industry. You know, I was, after 2 years, doing like global education things that you should never really be doing after 2 years. I should still be scrubbing toilets at that rate, you know? Really.
But there's also like that other element as well. Like, I'm finding like in salons, like you guys might be having a different experience. It's like people are coming into the salon as like a first year apprentice or like doing a trial and whatever, and they want to be doing hair. You know what I mean? But there's also like that element where you also do need to start at that level,
Yeah.
and then work your way up. Like, you can't just come in and start cutting hair. Like,
But I think we're
we've
getting there a bit
worked our
quicker
whole
now.
Career, like, to get where we are now. Like, you need to develop that skill.
Yeah. And I think it's developing the vision and the ability for the youth to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And showing them that, leading by example, because you know, there's lessons in doing things that you don't like.
Yeah, exactly.
You have like you know, I hate saying that you have to do it, but like there's a part of life that like you're missing out on if you don't go
you
through
need to,
things
like,
that you don't like
need to
doing.
learn
Yeah.
to walk before you run. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you got to go through a bit of pain. Like, you know, it's funny, isn't it? Like how some versions of pain are like accepted and okay, like going to the gym and putting yourself through pain to look a certain way. That's okay type of pain. But
I don't
I
think
don't,
that's
I don't
okay.
accept that. I don't accept that at all. Against my motto.
me neither. I've learned my lesson now. I've got the dad bod over here, so that's trending now, so it's all good.
I'll
made that
speak for
trend.
myself.
But then, you know, like you got like other types of pain, like going through the apprenticeship, but getting to the other side of it and seeing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's what we need to kind of show people.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the
I
great
always-
things about F.A.M.E Team.
I always think about how do we like arm people. I think the missing link there is arming people with the tools to deal with it. I mean, because before you were like smacked through your apprenticeship, and then it's like, but you had no tools to deal with it. You know, like we learned yesterday. You know, people learn from their own pains and their own experiences. So I have this conversation with a lot of clients. Like, you know, in this new generation, how do we develop that like bit of grit that you need to get on in life? You know, without any friction at all. I don't know if you can do it. I really don't know.
I think that's the way the world goes. It goes so extreme one way, and then it'll probably go so extreme the opposite way, where everyone's almost, not that you can be, but too nurtured and
Yeah.
spoiled almost, and then it'll come back and it'll find a happy medium. And
I think that's
the
where we're
way
going
we
now.
want
I
it.
think we're getting that spring
That's a really
back
good
now.
way. That's a really good way of thinking about it because
Yeah.
like our parents like before us didn't really know, so like they'd probably mollycoddled us a little bit, you know, like kept us a bit like softer. And the new generations are the same because we just got treated so fucking. It was raw, you know.
Yeah.
And before them, they just got the rawness as well, where it's just like
Yeah, I've been smacked a few times.
Haven't we all?
exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Our generation
like,
can
now
say
going
that,
forward,
right?
it's not really like that's not acceptable, you know, to do
Yeah,
that anymore.
exactly.
And now that we know better, we need to do better. Like that's
Yeah.
one thing that we always say.
Yeah.
Even down to like haircutting in the academy, it's one thing. Now that we know better, we must try to do better.
Yeah, I don't think you need to be hard, but I think you should be fair,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
like, and firm.
Fair and
know what I
firm,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's-
I think it depends on the person. Some people need that, some people don't work well with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're looking now at different personality types and different work ethics and backgrounds, and we as the seniors need to be able to adapt to each person and their personality and
Yeah.
and their
Evolve.
skill
And that's part of like powerful leadership moving forward. That's that leadership style moving forward, is that adaptability for sure.
Yeah.
Nurturing people and bringing out their strengths for sure. But interesting, that observation that I was having yesterday, it kind of came to me, which I said it in the session, was like, I think after, because of our generation, like there was such a shift in like physical safety. Like parents stopped hitting their kids and they stopped, you know, it was all, oh, you don't do that. But I think what that did was we ignored the like emotional safety. So now we're working on, okay, we don't hit kids anymore, but now what do we do with emotional safety? And I've had that experience where somebody said to me, like close to me, said, oh, you were always safe. I was like, yeah, physically, but maybe not emotionally. And now I think we've got to this point of like, we swung the other way now. And now we're like, all right, we got the physical bit sorted. We worked out that, yeah, smacking people's probably not the best idea. Let's now, you know, what's the thing we've got to tackle? And I talk about like therapy and like self-help and, you know, development and all that stuff. It's very time bound. It's like, what do we need now? I said it on a different podcast, like what we might need now might not be what we need in 5 years' time because of the checks and balances to swing. Like, what do we need now? And it's very time bound, which is really interesting. But yeah, I feel like we're in that like emotional safety thing right now, where we're trying to balance that out because, like we all learned yesterday, there's shit bubbling under the surface that we just suppress forever, and we don't know why it's there. You know?
Even that we can just talk about it more now. Like people going to therapy, I feel like it's so much more spoken
accepted.
about.
Yeah.
Mental health, like we can openly speak about that so much more now than I feel like earlier in, you know, my youth, you just wouldn't. Or like my parents would never, you know, want to openly talk about that as much. They're pretty open, but maybe to the family, but not to, you know, anyone outside. I think it's so nice now that we talk about that.
Well, we're like second week of being with each other, like, so technically that's third proper time we've all met each other, and I can tell you everything, pretty much everything about your guys' journey and mental health, and that just wouldn't have been a few years ago.
No.
Like we had that session with Melissa Maskey yesterday, and just all opened up, got deep. No one cared, no judgment. We've all spoken about it since. Like that just wouldn't have happened.
No. Even just that type of course, like having something like that to go to. Like
And
just
that
wouldn't have been a thing.
understanding of like we're all a little bit messed up,
Yeah,
you know. Like I think, you know, say 10 years ago, I'm just going to ballpark a time, but 10 years ago, you would have been hiding a bit of that. There would have been like a hierarchy,
Shame
like,
in
oh,
that,
fine,
yeah.
you know. Oh,
It's just
we're like, oh,
pride thing,
you're a
isn't
bit
it?
Yeah.
damaged.
An older generation. pride.
Yeah, like is it like you were saying with like, I guess my parents, like if I told them, yeah, I'm going to therapy, they'd be like, you okay? You going mad?
Yeah.
Like,
What have we
what's
done
wrong?
wrong?
You're right. Like,
What's
you know,
happened?
What's
Yeah.
happened?
That was a good mom. I didn't mean to.
He's gone mad. Like,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just beautiful that we can have those moments and those conversations now.
Do you want to explain, because we keep talking about yesterday and numbers, do you want to explain what we actually did?
Yeah.
People know.
Of what I can
Like, I'm a
remember.
5, I'm a 7. Everyone's like,
Yeah.
what?
So yesterday, we met up with Melissa Maskey. How beautiful was that place?
amazing.
Though?
Incredible.
Like, I can't wait to take you out there, Owen.
You
It's
just felt peace when you
As
walked
soon
in.
as you
Should we,
walked
should we
in,
get
yeah.
Melissa on next? I've been talking
Yeah,
to
you
her.
should. Yeah, you
Oh
should.
my God.
Yeah.
We'll follow it up with Melissa's podcast.
You wanted a
Yeah.
good cry.
It's in the
Get on.
universe now. It's in the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a hug.
The space.
Yeah, she's a good hugger.
The
Good
space
hugger.
is so
Bring some
beautiful.
tissues.
Yeah. But the space just beautiful, right? Like
So-
I walked
so
in there and I
nice.
felt like zen. I
Just
was
tranquil.
Like, it was like almost like a retreat kind of space, you know. And
Beautiful space.
so that was really cool. And so Melissa has a course called Conscious Creativity, And I didn't do too much research into it beforehand, and I was a bit like, oh, what's this about? 'Cause,
Unlike you, Lee.
yeah, that's not like me.
He definitely did.
But because we do a lot of that work, and I've done a lot of that work over my lifetime, and it was actually to do with the Enneagram. So the Enneagram is like a personality type quiz, and it's numbered 1 to 9. Was it 1 to 9 or 0 to 9?
1
to
9.
9.
Yeah, 1 to 9. And everybody falls into a particular number, and you can wing with a certain number. So you can say, have like, I'm a 5 with a little bit of 4, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, we went through, did a questionnaire, and all found our personality type, and it was quite interesting.
It was funny, wasn't it? We was like, some people were like 9s, I was like 50s.
Yeah,
And we was like, which
yeah.
one is the psychopath? Like, who's the
So
bad one?
we had to add up. There was this big. It was 100 statements, wasn't it? 100
100
statements, and
yeah.
we all had to like score it out of strength, how much we agreed or disagreed. And we get to the end, and like I would have like 0 on something, and Maddie would have like 49 on something. We're like, which one of us is
which one is
mental?
wrong? Like, judging each other, like, I hope it's not me.
Oh, get away from me. But
It
it
was
was such a really and the Enneagram's something that I've actually seen before, and it was awesome, very accurate for me,
Yeah.
very accurate. But there's an openness that you need to accept that as well, isn't there? Imagine you could say that to someone who wasn't open. They'd be like, not me,
Yeah.
Totally. You don't want to face it. Or you don't want to think that is you.
The ego could have just brought the shutters down.
Yeah.
But I think it sort of explains it that well. It was like, for me, obviously, my ego type was, hate talking about deep stuff, don't want to get emotional, just want to live the best life. So for me, I can be a bit like that. Like, even when we had that conversation yesterday, he was like trying to get deep, and I was like, nah, it's fine.
But
So I think the way it explains it, it's sort of like, you don't like doing that, and you don't like doing that. So it's not like you're this person and you go, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, you are that person, and you're that person.
Yeah.
Whether you're open or not, I guess,
Yeah.
the way it goes.
And that's the cool thing. It was like that she wouldn't. It's not trying to force you to be a
Anyone
5 like me.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's why I picked up on that in our conversation. Like I just said, "What's under the reaction?"
Yeah.
And then you were like, "Oh yeah," and just left it. Yeah, but because I knew that, and I was like, "Well, we'll just leave it there." And it was so funny how then Melissa
came
just
up.
took you down the rabbit hole, and I was like, "Yeah, go there." But it's powerful stuff.
It was a journey, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
It
was,
was
a journey.
super interesting.
Yeah.
And it was like something that I'd never experienced in my life. Like, we got deep.
Yeah.
So deep.
Like, really deep. And it was like, I spoke about things that I'd never really even spoken to, like, my close friends with,
Yeah.
And that goes to show, like, how close our bond has come.
Thanks for
just
sharing
being-
it. It was beautiful. I actually couldn't look at you at one point. I was
He set
like,
me off
I'm
crying.
not going to look at him because I'm going to cry.
I thought
Because it's
stupid
family
crying for him.
stuff,
Yeah.
and like there's
Yeah.
family stuff going on with me
That's
right now, and it's like I was like, "Oh, this is getting heavy," but it's so weird. I knew you were going to say what you were going to say. Like I said it to you earlier. I was like, "Yep," because you were like, "I don't know where the Rob feelings come from." I'm like, I know where it's coming from.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
but like, it was just, like, it was bizarre.
I thought you were
like,
gonna say you'd been
would do
burgled.
that whole experience all over.
I was like, what about
laces
it?
from the
Yeah.
shoes?
A rat at them.
On the shoes.
Yeah, tell us the story about your shoes. What's going on with your shoes?
No,
Maddie
because
was
you all
triggered.
think I'm lying, but I'm not.
Are you triggered? You're
I was
right.
triggered. I was triggered. So we're in this lovely house that Stallone picked for us, and I've had a rat eat my shoelaces. And no one
It's
believes
not
me.
confirmed.
Apparently.
It's not confirmed.
As a rogue rat.
It's
We're yet to
confirmed.
find the rat.
It's confirmed. This is the rat.
I've killed it. I'll put it on here.
And so basically,
We turned it into a microphone. Repurposed it.
I'm invoicing you for new shoelaces.
David, you get an invoice.
They're expensive, very expensive.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
It's good. It's great that you guys are getting that experience. It's often like I found myself in situations recently where I've signed up for certain things or been in certain courses or whatever, and I'm not really sure, I guess, why I'm there, type of thing. And I get something out of it that I'm not even expecting to get out of it on an emotional level, and something just kind of triggers you and makes you kind of brings you back to like a memory or it's something that we've completely forgotten about. Because there's so much, I guess, going on in the world. There's so much distraction that you kind of almost forget about the past because you're always thinking about the future. But the past has really formed like who we are, type of thing today. And without that awareness of it, it's like I became aware of it. Like Lee and I went to a course. I think I might have spoken about this on the podcast. I've spoken about it for a bit now, but we went to a course and I just unexpectedly got like really triggered. and like suppressed that feeling for like a couple of days. And when the course finished, just couldn't stop vomiting like for like 3 days.
Oh,
Really?
Like, yeah.
It was actually quite interesting to watch. Like, yeah,
Wow.
I saw the whole
Yeah.
thing, and he was like in pain. He was like old man, just like, oh, I'm in so much pain.
It's like letting
Yeah,
it out.
Yeah, it's like an
Bottled it
exorcism.
up.
I just didn't express
Actually, it was.
how I
It
was
literally
feeling.
was.
Yeah, and it just had to come out in some way. It was just energy moving through the body, and it's really interesting. That was where it started. Then, like a month later, I went back to a similar course. Kind of had this really like profound experience there where I asked the question that I needed to ask in front of like a room of like 200 or 300 people, and just kind of broke down in front of the room. And then that's led me now to I am actually getting help with it, and it's given me a lot more awareness and experience around that, where it gave me the technicality. I'm quite a logistical type of person. I need to know the technicality. Like my brain likes to know like how things work logically, and you know, when I get that understanding of things, I'm just like, oh yeah, like that actually makes sense now. And I really enjoy learning about
That's
it.
why we get along.
I really enjoy learning about it, and I find it so interesting. You know, it all really comes back to like trauma and stuff. And my partner's a trauma-informed kind of breathwork coach, so she's just been like a mirror for me. Like she just holds the mirror up at me every day, like questions everything that I'm doing. Why are you having that pizza? What are you trying to suppress? And it's like, fucking hell, just give me
It's
a minute.
Friday night. I want to
Let me
pizza.
interrupt you.
But like, you know, it's very confronting.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that, like the experience you guys have shared about yesterday can be quite confronting when you're not expecting it. But ultimately, it's the best thing you can do for your growth, you know, as a human.
Well, Nick,
Because it was like it was something that I was like I wasn't aware that it was affecting me. You know, that was what I found really interesting about it, and why I want to sort of like go more into it, because it's like maybe it is something I need to deal with.
Oh,
a
definitely.
couple of really interesting things that happen. That's why I can't wait for you to do it. It's like she outlines like baseline fears of your personality type. That's interesting.
Very cool.
That starts to tie a lot of things together. You know, like I've been talking about the friendship story for quite a while, and like there's this baseline fear for my personality type, and that was like joined a lot of dots. I'm like, yep, that's why that happens. Which is be interesting. Like I'd love to see yours as well, to see, because it helps you understand. Okay, I literally walk around with this subconscious baseline fear, and it's behind making all these decisions. But the other thing that was really interesting listening to you talk was you get the same thing as me. When you start going deep with things, you actually forget that, and it happens to me, and it's the ego bringing up it's trying to protect you.
I actually have the understanding of what that is now.
Yeah,
It's like a fight, flight, or freeze response that you get in your nervous system, and the amygdala in the brain is like the lighthouse of the brain. And when it seeks danger, and it's like, oh, Ash is in trouble, you know,
Yeah.
like we need to shut him off.
Well,
So
that
then
was
you start forgetting things, just foggy memory, like.
Yeah, well, that was like the interesting thing. Like we were like meditating, and we were like trying to find triggers that were like emotional triggers, and we're sitting there and we're like breathing and we're like relaxing, and then we're getting talked through, and it's like think of the trigger, like what was the last thing that triggered you in the last like month or whenever that was, and then like think what was the emotions and what was the trigger of that emotion. Kept going and going. I forgot what I even started off with. It was probably something petty, like my delivery wasn't delivered on the day.
Sounds like you.
But like, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't remember what it was that was, but then like as it was going, I was getting deeper and deeper, and I could hear myself, like my brain and my heart, my stomach, everything was like, get out. But it was like the word robbed was like it was yelling at me. Like it was like, yeah, it was weird.
It's interesting because, like, you know, there's this thing Hannah and I always speak about, and she says it all the time, but your triggers are your biggest teachers.
Yeah.
You know, they're the things that teach you the most, and you gotta start asking, like, when you go down that rabbit hole, it's like questioning yourself, but why am I really triggered right now?
Yeah.
You know, we got this theory that we always run, like, about getting 5 whys deep. You know, if you can get 5 whys deep on something, then you're pretty aligned with that thing. You know?
That's what she was sort of saying, wasn't she?
But like, yeah, so interesting.
So something that I observed for me as well yesterday is like I don't really get, like, through breath work I've learned to like calm my nervous system down quite a lot. Don't really get nervous in a lot of situations anymore, but yesterday my heart was fucking racing, like just hearing about it, and I reckon it was my ego knew that something was coming.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I couldn't stop it. I'm like, I'm not even nervous, and it was like I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And it was like ready. It was ready to go, you know, it was like ready to push it down. And
You know when you hit a spot that's real.
and that's so I'm starting to I'm going to take more notice of that now as well to start to tie those two together. Because yesterday I was really aware of it.
It's a good thing.
Really aware of it.
Yeah, because like even when we like had our eyes closed and we're like meditating and stuff like that, my heart was like all the time. I was like, whoa, like come on, I didn't have to copy.
Calm down there. Yeah.
But that's like it was like
It's the protector. Like we all have a protector, which kind of basically comes from like our inner child, you know, from them traumatic experiences when we're young, and it forms this protector which we've labeled the ego over years, and then the ego has multiple kind of purposes. You know, you could say that somebody who is arrogant or like had a big ego as well, but really the ego, as we've kind of reframed it now, is that protector, that inner child that's just trying to stop you from experiencing that again. And like intuitively, like in a situation like yesterday, like the brain is crazy. There's two things happening all the time in the brain. This is what this lady's teaching me that I'm doing the work with, is there's always a conscious and a subconscious thing going on, and the subconscious is so powerful. Like we have no control over it really, but it's about getting to a level of awareness where you can be like, you realize that it's there, you just tell it fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, like I've called my ego Dobby. I've relabeled it Dobby
You
from,
give it a
like
stop when
Dobby
you're
from
done with
Harry
it.
Potter. Yeah, because that's essentially what Dobby is, right? He's like Harry's protector. He's trying to stop him to go back to Hogwarts because he's going to get killed.
Oh, that's so cute.
But it's like the intuitive, that intuitive feeling that you would have had yesterday that something deep was going to happen. That's what probably got the heart racing. Like whenever I do so this lady I'm doing the work with, right? I'll get a little bit into that. She scores me like all the time throughout the session. Like, how are you feeling now? Like, what level of anxiety, what level of stress are you feeling now? And even like having these conversations, like you can start to feel it, you know, because it's like, oh fucking hell, this is going a bit deep, you know what I mean? I'm gonna switch on off now. You can't really deal with this. But continuously scoring it and being aware that it's there, and then being able to tell it like, no, well, distinguishing the difference between like, that's not me. Like, I know what you're trying to do here. Like, thank you. But I'm okay now today.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's like we were saying that like reactiveness. Can be quite a reactive person. But we was it's that like once I've reacted, I'm a bit like so annoyed at myself. I think it's that like, you know, you need to just like stop, like try and listen to the two things and go with one that's true you and not the one that's trying to take over and react, or in any which way you react. Growth.
And when you get to this point of like your journey too, you know, you start thinking about life on this scale, it's very hard to go back to like thinking about anything else.
Yeah.
I think that's why I need to go off in the fucking van for a few months. Like,
Just to think.
honestly, just to get like some clarity and like think about, okay, what am I actually doing? How much of this is really for me, like at a core level? What do I really want? Or am I doing things that I think people want of me? It's like, okay, I need to really figure that out.
I feel like even yesterday, just getting our egos, like I see myself differently last night and today, like just why I do things. I was helper was my thing. And so I want to help people, and I want to sometimes put their needs over my own. And I just noticed in like a lot of my actions or what I do or be worrying about, I was like, oh, I understand. But not even as much of a judgment as I think I would have before, and judge myself. It was just like, okay, I see where that's coming from, and like make a choice. Like, do you want to do that? Yeah. Or do I want to do something different? Which was, really interesting.
And that's being conscious, isn't it? Like, you know, it's just being aware.
It's a hard line to, I struggle with that as well. And it's a hard line to like walk, isn't it? Because that judgment thing is heavy. Because you'll be like, oh, well, if I don't help, then that's selfish.
Yeah.
You know, alleviating that is actually really hard.
And I
but then to someone to tell you, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right to think about yourself. You can't save everybody, you know?
I think for me, it's always been a fine line, because growing up, I was always, out of me and my sister, I was always like more of the selfish one. Like, I'd scoff my lollies. Yeah. I'd like scoff my little lollies down, and then my sister would always share. And I'd know that. And like, I'd always, being maybe the older sister too, like I like play my games, or like, if you don't want to do what I want to do, I don't want to do it. And I was kind of always said like, you know, don't be so selfish, and like share more and give more. And so I think then that maybe pushed me too far the other way.
100%.
And then now it's like that fine line of me balancing, like, I don't want to be selfish, but also I need to take care of myself and think about what I need as well. So I feel like I'm on a journey of like finding that balance between the two.
And on a subconscious level, you could be still, you know, judging that part of yourself as a kid. Because I do that with myself, and I only tapped into that like you were saying earlier, Matt, or Ash. Or get people confused.
Man, multiple names.
It's split personality.
Like there's certain things that I forgot.
Whether I'm twisting health or not
The
health.
different names have different numbers.
But yeah, certain things I forgot from when I was a child, you know, like ways that I might have treated my little brothers. And I only really brought that up in the last session that I did with that lady. And it's like, oh, fuck. Like, that's actually come out in me now. Like, it's made me do the opposite. Because I'm trying to almost make up for that time when I, like, got them in trouble or treated them badly. And it's interesting, isn't it? Like, how it comes back up later in life and can be a symptom of how your current behavior is.
And it's amazing how like all of this can affect our work, our level of work, our level of creativity. Like tying all this in, there's so many elements to everything that we do in our life. And like, I mean, the most thing that we got from this experience is like, how do we bring that into our work life? Like, how do we do these things that just to help us develop in what we do in our craft?
Well, I think it's like just knowing, like, obviously in this, you know, your health and your not health. And for me, my ego type, and actually just me and it as a person, if I'm not in health, you'll get nothing from me. Like my boss, every praise, it's like, you're doing great, but if you're not doing great, like you're not doing great. Like, and you'll get nothing from me. I'll go in, I'll do good hair, but that's all you'll get. You won't get your retail, you won't get your treatments, you won't get like, I'm in and I'm out.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I'm in that mood, but when I'm in it, I'm in it. So it's like knowing your health and what puts you in health and what puts you in bad health.
I was like bringing up for me yesterday about the thing I struggle with the image thing of clients and how much it affects them. It's so overpowering some days, or a lot of days, it's just crippling. All my creativity's gone, my inspiration's gone, I can't even think straight.
Yeah.
I can't even think of anything. I'm like, you literally have to tell me what to do. I literally in my head see myself as I'm the guy holding the tools, that's it.
Yeah.
Because and I've explained it to people in the past, like I see it as like gates. Like all these gates just start closing on me, and the further I go, once they all close, that's it. I'm like, oh, we're done now.
But I think that's finding your vibe. Like you say, you've sort of gone so far one way from branding and image and that sort of thing that, like, again, it's probably different in the salon world. But if I go to it with not brushed hair and a crap outfit on, they won't buy stuff from me. They won't buy the retail. They won't trust me. They won't have a new haircut. They won't have a new hair colour. But that, like, I wouldn't. When you go in, you feel good, you look good because you emulate that in everything. They'll have that change. They'll have that trick. They'll have, like, it does come out in your work the way you feel, whether that's by your dress or your hair or.
And that's it. I feel like for me, it's at a real like interesting sticking point right now of like, what is it that I want to give people? You know, it's like I'm not in the game to give someone a treatment. I'm like, you know, it's like.
Yeah, you can do that.
Or I just it doesn't serve any like.
It's different with
relevance in my mind, you know? Yeah.
I think I can relate what you're saying, Maddie. I think because I'm the same. If I'm like just off, then I notice how different my week goes.
Yeah.
And if I'm on, like it just all happens naturally and everything just flows smoothly. And definitely, like, it's not so much about how you look as it is about how you feel.
Yeah.
And for us, it might be like having my hair, because I'm a Leo and I like my mane, but having my hair right, you know, dressing a way that makes me feel confident and good, it just sets me up.
Yeah.
And I feel like everything then flows from that as well. Like I'm going to eat better, I'm going to, you know, my conversations are going to be more, you know, around like a certain topic. And then my week flows. But if I
it's not about like Lisa like selling treatments. It's that's part of the service and that's part of the experience and it's what's going to make the colour last longer and then feel better. 100%. So it's like, I guess almost the care factor in like, I'll do your colour and I'll do it good, but that's what you're getting. Unless you're in that positive health mindset. And for me, that's dress.
It's interesting as well. I know I say it's interesting a lot, don't I? Because I'm just like,
so interesting.
You guys are so interesting. But I've been listening to an audiobook recently and there's a lady called Louise Hay. It's called You Can Heal Your Life. And she was talking about how like actually looking after your self-image is a form of self-love and like self-worth. You know, like if you're, I know that when I'm like straight out of bed and I just crack on with my day without like say having a shower or making myself look or feel a certain way, it's going to affect how I show up with everyone around me. And it is a form of self-love and self-worth. But I guess, you know, where Lee's kind of coming at it from is like, how we can't be the person to give that to somebody else.
No.
You know, they have to want it for themselves.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
100%.
and we can help. You know, it definitely helps. It gives
Inspire.
them, but it can inspire them. You know,
Do it for them.
I think something that really helped me yesterday that Melissa helped with is like the form that I do it in. Remember she explained that? Like, she was like, I can see you coming into a new form now. And now I've had to go through this massive process of detachment. And, you know, maybe it's a bit selfish of me and I'm trying to impose that on other people. Because I think the reason it's because it was so powerful for me as a kid. All I cared about was fitting in. That's all I cared about. I had to have the hair, the clothes. Like, I put my mum through hell. I wanted the best shoes, the best clothes, best. And I'm like, it's painful on so many levels. Like, and then, I realized that. I was like, wow. I see it in a lot of people. And I just know how painful it is.
Yeah.
So I've had to go through that detachment, and I feel that's why I've gone so far the other way. And again, it's the checks and balances of swinging in. So I feel like I'm slowly coming back to
You'll
it.
find your groove.
Yeah, with that level of detachment, but I don't know how well I'm going to be able to operate in a world of helping people with their attachment. You know? I'm going to be like, well, I'm like this and you're like this. And, you know, it might get to a point where I'm like, is this even the way that I want to express and bring value to people anymore?
Yeah.
You know, and like, that's how I'm really trying to look at hair since the last mentor week is an expression. How can I help people with their expression? But if they're too attached to it, what do? Do I say something or just let them go? You know?
Yeah, I guess
It's hard
journey,
because it's
isn't it?
painful then. And like a lot of the stuff that I do with like the Buddhist monks, they're like, that's suffering then. You're just suffering.
But I guess it's like what they want to indulge in. Like, you know, like with Charlene, she was saying like she really indulges in self-help and self-well-being and those sort of things. And for me, that's not an important, like, it's a bit of an important, but it's not where I would want to spend my time and money. Do you know what I mean? It's what you want to indulge in that helps your own personality. Yeah.
They need to want that for themselves, I think, you know. Nobody comes like to Area Studio to get that type of help almost. And that's where it's hard, you know.
Yeah.
But that's maybe where we need to start putting that out.
Yeah.
You know?
And
if that's what you want to do.
And the way that I always think about it, the question that I give myself is like, you know, if I asked myself 15 years ago, if you take this all away from me today, would I be okay? I'd say no. But there's no way I can live without my skateboard, my guitar, my cool hair, my cool clothes, my niches. There's no way I can live without them. But now, you say you take it all away from me, I'd be absolutely fine. So like that's what I mean by the attachment is that, and that's what I see in people. If I take that perfect haircut away from them, would they be okay? Most people will say no.
But don't you find that in lockdown that helped a lot of people? Not being able to get that haircut and not being able to go and do those activities.
Yes and no, because they start. But then when it all comes back, it's amazing how quick people fall back into the attachment of it.
And worse,
again.
I think, this time.
And the reason I say it is because when I'm going through, we have this interesting question. We ask people, how do you feel with your hair? And they'll go, oh, look at me. I'm like, you need to love yourself a bit more. Stop that, you know, because, and it's the attachment to people need to see me in a certain way. No, they don't. You know, that's just the way I feel. I don't care how people see me because it's like, I'd rather you see me in a way when I start talking to you.
I was just going to say through your conversations, maybe you're planting that seed, and then people that, you know, maybe are thinking about that or aware of their attachment, then they can take it on. And maybe they'll start having more conversations with you. And then maybe some people, they're just not even aware of it, or they don't care. Or...
And that's the message that keeps coming back to me is like, just show up as that example. So, and that's why I'm so like just comfortable being who I am, because I'm just trying to be that example.
And that will inspire people, like people that are interested about that or curious about like, hey, how are you so comfortable in just, you know, letting go and not worrying, like you're not attached to your appearance, then you can, start going.
I actually had this really weird experience in the salon where like I'd finished the client and stuff like that, and I don't normally like show them the back or whatever. I'm like, they trust me, they know what I'm doing. But this one client like just wanted to see like the color and the blend and blah blah blah. So I gave them the mirror, and usually what I do is I'll get them to hold the mirror and I'll spin the chair around so that they can see visually in the big mirror rather than me trying to show them in this little thing. And the first thing she noticed was how her bra was cutting off her back and she had like these rolls. And she freaked out, and I was like, what the hell? Like,
That's not a me issue.
But that's what I mean.
yeah, I was
That's
like,
what I mean.
But it became my issue.
Yeah.
And like her confidence dropped, and it was like she was like really sad about the hair and things like that, and she was looking at the hair and analysing it and things like that. I was like, but hang on, this is all from you like visualising like something, an insecurity on your body that you saw in the mirror that had nothing to do with me, but now it's like something that I've now got to calm down so that
Yeah.
you feel confident with your hair. Because like I didn't want her to leave with someone feeling walked down, being like, oh, you know what I mean, like whatever it is that was out of body that she didn't like. It's like that's also being now projected onto what I've done.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest experience, and like even like after she left, I was just like, wow, it actually brought me down too.
Yeah.
The thing I always bring back to people is like, as well, what a like privilege it is to be able to even do this, like to have the time and the money to spend on manicuring your looks so much. And I've really tried to spin it around in my head. Where does this all fit in the world? And I'm just assuming originally it would have been like a survival thing. If you looked a certain way, you knew you were from that tribe or that group of people or that certain thing. But like, I think one of the things we've missed in life is that it's not hard to survive anymore. And that's where I feel like we're going a little wrong with it. That's just a personal view. Like, no one needs to fit in anywhere, and no one's going to, like, I don't know why we're still judging people on the way they look and all that kind of stuff. It's like, because you don't need to belong to anyone anymore, because guess what? Government takes care of everything now. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, so that's why that's why I really want to share. And I think it's just me trying to find my fun in my work again. Like, it wasn't fun for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's all I could see, and it was so overwhelming. That how do I make it fun for people? If we can just see it as an expression of something that we're so fortunate to get to do, this is how great it is to be here. We get to spend time manicuring our look, spending time, money, making our hair blue if we want to. How fun and exciting is that? That doesn't mean it's essential, and some people will, though. They'll get so attached to everybody needs to see me this way. Like, why? You know, there's always that why. And that's, to me, deep down, that's suffering. Because if I took that all away from that person that day, they have a meltdown.
Yeah.
And that's suffering. So, like, I would love to see it done with a bit more enjoyment and just an expression.
Yeah, I think, and when you do, it makes, like, my grandma recently passed away, but she had bright pink hair.
Right.
And when it wasn't bright pink, it was blue. And at Christmas, it was green and red. I mean, it literally
really?
made me want to die when I walked around with her.
Yeah.
But, like, everyone loved it. And, like, she'd be walking around and they'd be like, oh, my God, I love your hair. And she'd be like, yeah. Like, and it just made everyone happy. And, like, she didn't give a shit. Like,
Yeah.
like I say, Christmas, walking around with green and red hair. I was literally like this, walking around with her. But she loved it. And I like, it was pink. I'm like, look at my grandma. She's got pink hair. She's so cool. And it just, it's so positive to see. And she didn't give a shit. She was like nearly 90. And she was like, I'm rocking it.
Yeah.
And what?
And there's something I always ask my clients, like, what's the story you're trying to tell?
Yeah.
You know, because I always say, I'm assuming you care because you're here, you're at Area Studio, you're paying a lot of money to get your hair cut. I'm assuming you care the story that you tell with the way that you look. I'm assuming you do. So what's the story you're trying to tell? And if you can get honest with that, I think that's fine.
I like that.
Nothing wrong with that. But like, that leads people down to the path of, I actually feel like I just hate people seeing me without a fresh haircut. Why is that? Or I just don't think I look good, and why is that? You know, it's like the Melissa Maskey thing. Get deep on it. Why is that? Oh, because someone told me I was ugly in the playground. There it is. There, it's painful, it's suffering, you know. And like, I see it in, I don't know, maybe it's just a biased view, but I just see it all the time.
Well, we said it the other day,
All the
didn't I? I was like, there was a girl walking past, she had this cute, like, slick Rick ponytail, and I was like, I just think my hair looks so good like that, but my ears are way too big. And you're like, no, they're not. And I'm like, no, they are.
But I was like, Maddie, like, are they?
It's like,
I'm
my hair's always long,
why?
it's always
It doesn't,
down.
You know.
Like, I'm about to set off flying, but like, I just never do it, and I love it, and I see people all the time, and I think, I want that ponytail. It looks so cute
I
on my
wouldn't
hair.
look at you and go, fucking hell, he was big. Like,
can't see
don't
them,
do
that's
that.
why
I
you
wouldn't
see
do it.
them.
I'll be like,
Yeah.
Maddie's rocking a fucking cool ponytail.
Yeah.
I'd probably get more into the technicalities.
It's a
I'd be
bump in
like,
that ponytail.
Yeah, I'll be like, how good's that ponytail? I'm not looking at your ears. I'm like, that ponytail's fucking good.
Yeah, but
That's
I
a good
think
ponytail. You know?
like I say, when you think about it, there's an element of it in there still. It's,
I don't know. It's a deep one, and maybe I'm destroying the industry talking about that. But
I just had this like weird thought. I kind of just got lost in my own thoughts for a second.
welcome back.
I was just we were talking about like people's like confidence and how what we do is like based on like, making them feel beautiful and things like that. But like, and the thing is like with these mentor weeks and stuff we're doing with F.A.M.E Team and like listening to each like mentor and how they find the inspiration and what they do in terms of like creating stuff, and it's always like, I mean, looking at what Fashion Week's doing or what the celebrities are doing and things like that, which is great. Like, we need to know what's happening in fashion, we need to move forward with what, like, that's how we make money. If we're like still stuck in the 80s, like, people will be like, ugh, what? Like, I don't want that. But also, like, I was just thinking, I was like, is what we're looking at in terms of fashion, like, this is what celebrities are doing, this is what they're doing on the runway, is that also like the media and like the world telling us like that's how we need to be, that's how we need to look to feel beautiful?
100%. Because beauty is subjective, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the one question I wish would have asked everybody that we'd met. What's beauty to you? And they'd be like, oh, it's this. It's like, well, is it? Who decided?
Yeah.
You know, who decided that? And there are some things that the human eye sees that you just cannot avoid, like symmetry and balance. That's what the eye is always looking for. But someone decided. Someone said it was beautiful.
It's quite different, like with the H.A.M.E, for example, like, you know, it's a different collection that wins every year. It's a completely different vibe. And yes, that is influenced by the media and whatever, but it's also depending on what judges and what taste level in it, and whether they look at trees for inspiration or whether they look at clothes for inspiration. Or I think what we have seen across this whole few weeks is everyone gets their inspiration from different places. And when we see Nadia today, you'll see how different. Like, she once showed me this tree that she got inspiration from, and you should have seen the look, and I thought, that is just a tree. And the look was incredible, but it's looking at different medias, I guess, of inspiration. It doesn't have to be a runway.
And that could be a whole big conversation of like, what, just the beauty word, like what is beauty? I'd love to see what everybody puts into it, you know?
I would say me.
I think just going back to the fashion, I also think it depends how you look at it. Because I definitely think you could look at...
We need to have it because that's like what clients want, you know. People want to be in trend, they want to like have what's like, what people are doing, what the Kardashians are doing, whatever, who are like, you know, like Jennifer Aniston's haircut was popular, Princess Diana's haircut, like, I mean, that was what we thought was like, if we have this, we're now beautiful, like, we're now perfect, you know. But it's like, is it really what our soul wants? Like, is that what our body, like, is that what we, like, is, like, inside ourselves, is that what's going to make us feel beautiful? Or is it just because now I look like that, people are going to think I'm beautiful?
See,
but I think it depends if you look at a trend as in that is beauty and that, or that is what's beautiful and you take it on, or if you look at fashion in the sense of more like the creativity of it and the self-expression. And I think it's then you can adapt that to yourself and your own creativity and how you'd express that.
Yeah.
But I think that's what I get a lot when I love to look at like the trends and what's coming out and what people are doing on the streets. And I feel like it's not necessarily that I'll take that on and be like, that is beauty and that I want to represent. But I think it's more like I just love to see the creativity and how people interpret that.
See,
what
that's
they
a
bring out
beautiful
of it,
way.
where they reference it, their inspiration,
Yeah.
where it's come from, the textures.
See,
like,
that's a beautiful, cool way to look at it. Like, that's how I'd love more people to look at it. But yeah, the thing that I always have is like, the way that I try and preface all of my appointments now, every new person that I meet is like, you're beautiful before you even start.
100%.
Like, we ignore that though. And a lot of stylists do, I think, because they tell people the only way they're ever going to be beautiful on a pedestal is if you get X, Y, and Z done. And it's like, all right, let's just preface this whole thing. You're perfect and beautiful the way you are before you even walked in this door.
And it's catching.
Let's just start there.
It's catching people when you said like they'll come in and be like, oh, look at me, like look at my hair, it's not done. I think, and I
That's
have
gotta
clients
stop.
that do that, and
That's
I have
gotta stop.
moments to say like, well, no, like you're beautiful as you've come in, and I think it's pulling them up, or like saying I'd wear my hair back, but I've got big ears. Like we all have things that we notice about ourselves, but I think it's catching those moments and be like, well, why am I doing that to myself?
It's reframing things, you know, like I think,
Exactly.
you know, being in this, like, and you guys, whether you like it or not now, you're all in leadership positions, right? Like we're all in leadership positions in some way of our lives, and it's about just reframing it. And when people come to you with something like that and they say something like that, reframe it, just go, oh, how beautiful. You know, like, and just make them
Be like,
think,
good,
what?
yeah.
Like, because we had a guy come to the academy a couple of weeks ago for one of our classes, and came to the end of the day and he was like, oh, I'm just so down on myself, I'm so overwhelmed, like I'm just discouraged, you know, in the day because I just couldn't do what I needed to do. And I was just like, beautiful, you know. And he was just like, what? I was like, well, look at the journey that you're about to go on. You have so far to go.
Yeah.
Like, what if you were already there? Where would you go from there? You know.
Boring.
So it's just reframing things in people's mind. It's like where they're like, what? What do you mean?
And if you think
Catch them
about
off
it from
guard.
that perspective, like we've only ever seen ourselves as a reflection. Like, you know, in a mirror on your phone taking photos, like we've only ever seen a reflection of our actual image. We actually don't really know really
still
what we look
pushing
like,
that
everything
now.
that we've seen is a reflection. So maybe the things that we see on ourselves that we don't find, that's like, we're like, oh my god, like my nose is like too big, so I don't like that, you know what I mean? Or things like that. If you think of it in another way, maybe the other people, like everybody else, can't actually see that because you're only seeing the reflection of what.
Yeah, it's all down to like different cultures and like like different elements. Like, I'll tell you a story, it makes me laugh. So obviously I worked in Cambodia for a little while. I had this Cambodian apprentice, and I remember he said to me one day, "Oh my God, girl, you got such big hips," and I was so offended, and I was like, "You're so skinny," and he was like, "Oh," and I was like, "But that would be a compliment to me."
Yeah.
And he would probably, I mean, he was like, "No, big hips is good. You fed well. You're like healthy." Like, and I was so offended by it. But it's like that culture of over there, you fed well. It's good. It's health. It's wealth. Here, it's like being skinny is health, wealth. Like it's like that culture of
Complete
you know what I mean? Like,
opposites.
well, not even. I mean, more like I think that where you are for culture and
Yeah.
those
I
inspirations.
think
And
it's just getting back to that set point, isn't it? Of like, you're just beautiful and perfect the way you are, just to start with, you know. And you're like we are.
And there's only that's only
and
the
to
3D.
argue that is saying
only
that
the
the
3D
universe fucked
version.
up, like literally, and that's audacious.
you can't just blame the universe.
Like, but so my and the argument that
Always
the
is.
universe, the universe, the argument I
seven
always
of you.
have as well is like, is beauty changing as many things as we possibly can about ourselves to such a manicured level? I just don't think it is. That's an expression, and it should be an enjoyable thing. That's just my view. I feel like if we're too attached to it, it's just we literally suffer.
To go
We
really
do.
deep with it as well, it's like it's only 3D as well, you know. There's
Yeah.
also the 5D of what we can't,
Yeah,
you know. And there's beauty in how somebody makes you feel, and like
Yeah.
somebody's presence and their energy. You know, they
Yeah.
could be like on paper the ugliest person
yeah.
in society standards with the most beautiful soul, you know.
100%.
And
it's
like,
like-
that's how we should be really judging people is on that level.
Yeah. It's
Not even
like-
judging, but just accepting everyone for who they are. Like, it's not even a judgment thing. It's
No.
like, let's get that out of the question. It's just, it is what it is. We happen to just do great hair, and
Yeah.
if we can make people feel better with that, then great. But if we're just handing an alcoholic another beer, saying, crack on with it, mate. You're looking great this week. You're definitely going to pull tonight. You know?
You know what I mean? That's
It's kind of like, well,
That's
are we really
yeah.
solving the problem then? But then is it our job to solve it? And, you know, Richard Kavanagh gave us a really good piece of advice on like being in environments where everyone is like really drunk, and like us trying not to be in that environment, and how we found it hard. And he's like, well, that's just what people do here, you know? And it's like, well, yeah, actually, you know, that's just what people do here. It's like, okay, well, maybe we need to approach it a bit differently if that's the kind of work we want to attract. And that's why I'm taking the break that I need just to figure things out. I'm kind of stepping into that mentorship space a little bit more and trying to help people with that, rather than just, okay, I've done enough haircuts now. I need to
I'm
give the
excited to
shoulder
see
a
what you
rest.
do.
It's because
Give
like
the shoulder
for
a
me, I
rest.
feel like
Straighten it.
yeah,
Get the posture right. You know?
do some more
Some
yoga.
trainers that
Bit of,
hair.
bit of meditation.
I think the big thing for me as well is like I just don't want to be that enabler, you know. I feel like if I just keep going, like because obviously you know we win the awards, we do the good haircuts, blah blah blah, price point, whatever. People come and it's an expectation, you know. And no joke, people will jump in my chair, and they'll expect me to pick them to pieces. They will.
Yeah.
It's an expectation, and that's why, you know, like I was chatting to you guys, like I have a bit of a filtering system of like new clients now. I'm like, what do you think that I'm going to do that you don't already get? And if you're wanting me to pick you to pieces, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to judge you by the way that you look. I'm past that point in my life, you know. If that makes me a shit hairdresser, then
Yeah.
all right, maybe I
Would you
don't need to do this
express
anymore.
rather
Maybe
than
this
show?
isn't the way I need to bring value to people anymore, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting when you bring people into it, isn't it? You know, you have the craft and you have the people. You bring people into it.
Yeah,
Like,
well, because I think I sit in the craft side of it too much, you know.
we just
I
love
think
the like we
so-
like the craft of it, you know, being able
Yeah.
to. I love teaching here. I love educating, being in that position where you're helping somebody else, and you know, I can't help but question sometimes when I'm doing a haircut on somebody, is it helping? You know,
And
depending on the person.
I have savage moments, like I feel really savage in my head, but people jump out the chair. Oh, it's amazing! I feel so great. It's the best haircut in the world. And I'm like, okay, like it just doesn't do anything to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. I feel bad, but
But I
like,
think maybe like
a lot of people say that. Oh, I do hair because it makes people feel so good. I'm like, why does it make them feel good?
But does that, to a certain extent, does that matter? Like, if you're making someone feel good, you're making someone feel good. And that's for somebody like you who gets quite deep into those things. Like,
you've just ticked your boxes.
You want people to feel good, whether that is as deep as how you feel good or surface level. Like, you've made someone feel good. That's mint. Like, you've changed someone's day or changed someone's week, or maybe they've met a new fella last night because of the hair, and you've changed their life. Like, it's powerful, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah, I just don't want them to suffer. That's the only thing.
It's interesting now for us. We get people that come in now, and like I've got a client who comes in, and he listens to this podcast, and our whole energy shift. There's been a big energy shift with him and me, and he comes in, and we get straight into like good conversation about good things, and like he goes for floats now and stuff like that. Like, I go for a weekly float. He started going for weekly floats.
Yeah.
And
it's basically talking to yourself, and you love it.
And not even, but it's like showing that, like, okay, that's the influence that we can have. Maybe it's a different type of influence.
Yeah.
And he's got quite like tricky hair. He could be really fussy about his hair if he wanted to be. He's got very tricky hair, and he doesn't even care. I could do it anyway. He doesn't care. He'll say it's great. He'll say it's amazing. He comes for the experience.
Yeah.
Of like us having a good conversation. And I think he just likes it. It's almost the same thing as going for the float, you know? Like, he just comes in, gets his haircut. It's like a self-care, self-love type of thing. Has good conversation. But yeah.
That's my thing from, like, yesterday's thing. You could learn from that. But, like, that's a good conversation to you. Is that a good conversation to you or to me? Or, do you know what I mean? Like, that's a conversation you enjoy, that you think is important, you think is powerful.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like I said, my conversation would be completely different to yours.
100%.
So if you won't get that client in your chair that's not a 5 and wants to talk like that, does it matter?
No.
Like,
you can't please
do you know what I mean?
everyone.
Like, you can't
Not everyone's for you,
where
you know?
you put yourself away from people in life because
Yeah.
that's not the way you think.
I think that's what's driven me to this point as well. Is that I think for hairdressing for so long, you were told to be the chameleon. Like, you have to please everybody, you know? And like, that was what pained me. I don't want to have them conversations with them people. Couldn't give a shit, you know? I'm like, I don't care what you're watching on fucking Loose Women, you know, like we were talking about earlier. I don't care. Couldn't give a shit. Like, you know.
That's why it's like this thing about it's all about the client is kind of like...
I struggle with that.
Is it though? Like, is it
I feel like
really?
that's shifting as well. And I feel like you attract then, or you'll keep the clients that you connect with, like what you were saying. And I like those kind of conversations. Like, I feel like that's what I'll have with my clients.
Yeah.
Like, we want to talk about stuff that really means something and that we connect over.
Yeah.
And then I feel like me and those clients will really connect.
Yeah.
And we will. Like, a lot of the time we're just hanging out.
Yeah.
Having a good time.
Exactly.
And like, yes,
we just
doing
happen to be doing hair, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying. It's so beautiful that we've gotten to this point as humans, that how beautiful we can do this.
Totally.
Like, great, you know.
And I might get someone that wants to just, talk about partying and have a good time, and they might not want to come to me because I want to talk a bit deeper, and then Maddie and them will hit it off and be like, yes, like, I love that.
And we see that a lot in our shop. Like, I don't get those guys. You know, I don't want those guys. They just do my head in. Like, and if I got fully booked all them people, I'd be like, I'm gonna quit now. Like, because it just serves no purpose to me. You know, I'm enabling that for his party life that I just don't care about, and then, do you know what I mean? It serves no art purpose, no expression, no value. Like, I just don't, you know.
That's the power of personal branding, though, I think.
Yeah.
And moving into the modern world and the society that we live in, social media, everything like that, we can really attract the type of work that we want.
Yeah.
You don't have to put yourself through that cookie cutter way of moving anymore. You know, it's just...
I was just going to say, and why Mel said yesterday, it was so nice that we all are like different personalities, and we all need those different personalities for, like, you being the thinker, and like we wouldn't have as many scientists and doctors and like people that like to have fun and just keep it, light and a good time and a sense of humor, and then
But you can't have these conversations all day, every day either. You know, like...
Oh, it's exhausting.
we'd all spiral.
But without, but without, maybe
Just say you all need me.
that provoking thought process.
I'd be levitating.
Maddie just to bring us back
Yeah, like, come on, back down to fun.
Ash to just keep the peace, keep us all
Go
grounded.
down, don't bring me down.
Mediator.
Mediator.
We'll find out what yours is.
See if you fit in with us.
Am I the fifth member now?
Move
You're
aside,
adopted
Jack.
yet?
Sixth, yeah.
F.A.M.E Team just keeps growing.
Well, Jack's dad, really. Yeah. He's kind of dad. But like, without that, maybe these conversations wouldn't even happen, So it's like, we do all need that. And,
All right, let's break up this conversation a bit.
All right, go on.
We'll ask why then, I think it'll be a good one to ask. Who wants to start? We'll say with, like, why did you go for F.A.M.E Team? What was the why?
We'll go ladies first again.
Why F.A.M.E Team?
I was actually talking this to Ash before. My why was because I was out of the industry for quite a while. I wanted just to reconnect, really. That was a big thing for me. Just to come back, connect with the industry, get to meet a lot of people, also build my brand. Like I wanted to sort of going out of hair and then coming back. It was a real conscious choice, and I came back like with the passion. So yeah, I knew where I wanted to go. I wanted to build a brand, get known for what I do. And I thought, yeah, F.A.M.E Team would be a great space. And I mean, it's been so much more than what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in the industry, it's great to have met so many people. And obviously, like I said, eyes are on us this year, but just these guys. Like I didn't think I was going to get such a tight crew.
Yeah, beautiful.
And feel, so early on already, so at home.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What do you want to do with your brand?
I feel like I'm still figuring it out.
Okay.
I definitely have obviously I like doing colour. Like I knew I just wanted to come back and do colour. Blondes in particular, or like lightning. I like that sort of more natural, as you guys know. But I think from the Mentor Week in Sydney and all the questions we had and like talking about ourselves and where we want to go, what we're about, I realised that I need to go deeper and like really, I think, just nut it out and refine it. And I feel like this year is going to be the year that I can do that. And I think it's going to be a discovery as I go. And
Beautiful.
Education, something I've also enjoyed, but I feel like it's nice getting these opportunities to like practice my public speaking, see if I do really enjoy it. Because it's one thing to think you want to go in that direction. It's another thing to actually like do it and see how you feel. So I feel like, just explore this year, put my heart into it and explore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. How are you,
Maddie?
Why F.A.M.E Team?
Why F.A.M.E Team? Many reasons, really. I think growth is a big thing for me. I think, I'm Tony and Guy till I die. I love Tony and Guy, but stepping out a bit of that Tony and Guy umbrella and meeting different people and different experiences. Like you say, I'm still trying to find my brand, and sometimes Tony and Guy, it's incredible. It gives you a really good, for me, I think, taste level and opportunities and those sort of things. But you can tend to get stuck in those opportunities and that taste level. And for example, on the F.A.M.E Team audition, everyone was like, "You're Tony and Guy, aren't you?" And you could just tell in my work. And I think I want to keep that aesthetic, but find me in that. And I think this is a really cool way of doing it. And I educate as well. I want more information, more knowledge. I want to be the best educator I can be for my students and for the next generation. And I think this is a positive way to do it. And just do cool stuff with cool people.
Yeah, it changes all the time. Like, I actually don't even really like Jimmy F.A.M.E Team's been one of those things that I've been following for many years now and watching like the growth with the previous members and where they've gone with their careers and their creativity and things like that. But I think also like my mind changes as to why, because I could like to answer that question with like a one word or whatever, or one sentence. It's hard to say because I actually don't know why. It was kind of like the universe was like, just apply it.
Divine intervention.
Yeah, it was like someone just said, just do it. And I'm so glad I did. But even like trying to figure out, like, I mean, obviously growth is one thing. Like, we all need to grow, whether you're in F.A.M.E Team or not. Like, everyone needs growth. Like, if you're not growing, then you're not going anywhere.
You're not growing, then you're not going.
That's it. That's beautiful, isn't it? Like that was you were called to do it essentially.
Yeah.
Like you don't really have. There's no strong like one word answer. It's just like you felt that was a call. It was calling you to do it.
Yeah, something was calling me to do it, and I think for me it was like more so like for like I guess people sort of seeing more of my work and things like that, because I wasn't very focused on our hairdressing industry. And I think because early on when I first started, I was like kind of burnt by the whole industry and like the clickiness and the politics and who's who and like blah blah, And like I feel like there's still a little bit of that in the industry, but I think we're sort of moving away from that, where we're sort of like coming together as a community. But actually, I mean, still like at different events and stuff, you sort of see that clickiness and stuff like that. But yeah, I think for me it was sort of like people sort of really seeing me finally. And what I do, because I think for me, like in the future, like where like the things that sort of inspire me are like Eugene Solomons and like your Charlie Lee Mundu, and like how they're sort of like creating concepts of like things that you look at and you're like, what the fuck? Like it's sort of like that what the fuck moment. Like you're looking at it and you're like, this is crazy and so cool and stuff like that. Like that's the sort of direction that I want to go in. Like I see, like before, like I've always been an artist and I sketch and do all these realistic portraits of people and things like that.
Yeah, sketches are crazy.
Yeah, I actually forgot to read the book, but yeah. And so like for me, like there's always that element of art. So like when I'm creating stuff, and I think styling for me is an element of like my artistic creativity, and like that's what I like to create, is like using hair as the medium to create art.
Oh, fantastic.
Something that I always question myself on this, like, why is it important that people see your work?
Yeah.
Like, why do you think it's important?
Well, I think for me, it's like I look at other people's work for like it's inspiring and things like that. Like we're always looking at things for inspiration. So like for me, I think people looking at my work for inspiration, like that is like who doesn't enjoy that?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
I think that's the whole idea of like what we're doing. Like we want to inspire people.
It's great.
You know, we want to share. Yeah, like we want to share like what we've done and how we've done it. It's like so that people can take that information and do what they wish with it and create something else, you know?
Yeah.
And the one thing that like, I think it was in the first, I can't remember who it was, one of the mentors that we had in the first week in Sydney, they said, if you can't take what I'm teaching you here today and add it to what you already know, you've learned nothing. You know, so I think that's what the element of inspiration is. I'm not trying to teach you a new technique or anything like that, but if I can't teach you what I'm doing and then add that to what you already know, because what's the point? You're not growing. That's going back to the growth thing, you know?
Yeah. And I think, you know, we're surrounded by a lot of real artistic people who have great ideas, great ways of expressing themselves, but they never let anybody know about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you're kind of one of those people, it sounds like to me, that, you know, you can get kind of trapped in your artistry as well, where you think, well, I'm so artistic that I'm not going to even share it with anyone because that's artistic in itself. You know, so you actually coming out and giving yourself a platform to do it, it inspires other people to do it the same, you know. So that's great.
I really love as well, like Owen picked up on earlier, I really believe there's like an emotional thing tied to your art. I reckon there's a statement I heard years ago, and they talk about how the neurotic and the artist are the same person, but the artist finds a way to get it out. And like, yeah, I reckon intertwined, and then maybe that's another journey for another time, but intertwined, I reckon that's probably why your work, I'm blown away by your work. I look at it, I'm like, whoa, because it probably just strikes a chord emotionally as well. You know, there's something there. It's more than just, oh, that's good hair.
Yeah.
You know, there's something that you understand, or maybe you don't even know you understand it, but there's something in there, you know, and I think that's why it's important people see it.
Yeah, because I find
For me.
with what I'm doing from like when I first started, it's gone through this sort of journey, and like you can see like on my Instagram that it sort of started off quite commercial, and like what I thought was like what I should be doing as a hairdresser, you know, because you look at people for inspiration and you're like, oh, okay, so like that's what I need to be doing to be at that level. And then it sort of evolved, and I started like doing like collaborations and all these test shoots with different models and things like that, and it sort of like had a bit more freedom and things like that. And I find like what you said, how like my stuff's sort of driven by emotion and things like that, which I think is really true, because, and I don't know why, like I'm still trying to figure that, but I find that the work that I'm doing is quite genderless. It's like sort of going to that queer sort of realm, if other sort of thing. Don't know why, but that's the sort of stuff that's coming out at the moment. Like even with the final presentation, like I wanted to create this look that was genderless, like, and even like when I was getting the model prepared, like Kobe came over and was like, and it was a male model, and he's like, oh, looking good, girly, like, you know what I mean? So it was like, I was creating that look where it was feminine, but also masculine at the same time.
And you do that
like,
so well.
And also, like, you didn't really know what gender they were. So that's sort of like where my work's going at the moment, whether it stays there or keeps going, I don't know. But yeah, like, that's where I've become, like, there's an element of, like, passion and, like, art to it.
That's what you will bring to
beautiful.
the industry,
So-
like with you saying about like people don't you want to look at fashion or catwalks or whatever. Like you're bringing a completely different aesthetic and vibe. That's what you need to bring to the industry, and you need to share that. And it's incredible.
I think that's what, so powerful about your work. Like, again, like we were talking about earlier, not following like those standard trajectories. I feel like there's so much room for you to just step into the industry and just push a bunch of people out the way, because I do see, there's a lot of surface level like art out there, but yours is so driven by emotion. I feel that that's so important. Like we're having conversations off camera, like certain names we won't mention, but yeah, there's no reason why you can't just literally step in the industry and just move that whole thing out the way.
Shake it up.
Like just
I am.
I am.
You have a face to camera for
I'm
that.
here.
Coming in hard.
Look out.
Like that's sort of like where I'm at, and this is why this journey's been so good. Is like it's like helping me discover that more, because I was kind of like, especially in lockdown and things like that, I was kind of like in this rut. I was like, okay, well I can't create, I can't do this, and it was like, I think that's sort of why what I'm doing now is becoming quite raw, like, and things are quite sort of like, they're not simple. Like there's an element of craziness. Like I might look like I've got my shit together, but I'm like actually quite nuts. But
We know.
Yeah.
We know. It's
That's
come
no
out already.
secret.
so like that's just like how like my mind's going. I've been like that like my whole life. Like I felt like I was sort of like the black sheep in the family. Like I was always like, in something different, or like, everyone had to wear blue, but I'd be like, fuck, I'm wearing orange, like, I've always been like that. So it's like I've always been going against
Questioning
like
the
the
blueprint.
grain, you know what I mean? And yeah.
You got to put question marks over everything, really.
My friend once said to me, like, I used to always go, why? She's like, if you ask me why one more time, I'm going to like, just because. And I'm always like, why? Like, why do you do that? Why do you want to do that? She's like, you have to stop asking why, you're so annoying.
Such
But
an
just, you
important
just want to know
question.
why, like, yeah. I want to know why to
that's,
everything.
That's why it's a hard question to ask, because it's provoking for a lot of people.
There's always a because.
Yeah.
There's always a because when you get to the deep,
Down the
dark
levels.
depths of it. Wiley.
What?
You're
Why?
not getting out of this league.
He was hoping. I could see he was like, sorry, next
Why?
topic.
What do you want to talk about now?
Why F.A.M.E Team?
Why F.A.M.E Team for me? A couple of reasons, actually. One was boredom. I was bored of what I was
What of
doing.
you? You got new friends?
Thanks.
Just can't find anyone.
On my level.
Anyone.
It's triggered.
What's that bringing up for you? Yeah.
Nothing. I'm off in a van, so.
Why? no, but boredom is in boredom in my work. I think making that transition from hairdressing a couple of years ago to primarily focusing on men's hair, I got a bit bored of it. Just creatively. I'm very competitive and I'm fine with it, but it's just learning about how to control it. Like that's one of the big ones that I'm trying not to be like, don't be competitive. I'm just like, all right, I've got to learn to know when to be competitive. So I've seen the F.A.M.E Team as a bit of a competition. I was like, I think I can do it. I actually believed I could do it. And then there was a lot of growth in it. I felt like it was a big growth thing for me. I needed that push to grow even further. And then the big one is a real selfish one, is just the platform. I look at it as a bit of a business tool as well. Great exposure. There were messages that I had that I believed that people wouldn't listen to me if I was only seen for doing men's hair. So this was my way of breaking back into the hairdressing industry and being like, okay, that I've got that platform now. And it works great as a business point of view, and it works great for me as an exposure point of view. All of us, I'm talking for all of us. And that's why I believed I could do it. And that's why I did it. A bit of boredom, wanted some more creativeness. And again, meeting all you guys and finding, something that we talk a lot about, is finding your herd. Can't always expect the people to come to you. You got to go and find them. And that was something I really wanted to find, a herd. And that's why I was so thankful after that first mentor week. I was like, oh, thank God. I feel good about hair again for the first time in probably 10 years. Or not 10 years, but 5 or 6 years since I joined the area. I felt really good about hair then, because we were doing a lot of competitions, and then
Trained it out of him.
it slowly disappeared, and that's from my own
Day by day,
limitations.
he just got
chipped
away at
But
it.
that's our own growth. But my own limitations, that's me coming to my own limitations and then probably being driven by my underlying fears. And that's what it was. A bit of boredom. I wanted more some creative opportunities. finding my herd, whether that was you guys, whether that was the mentors, whether that was whoever. Because I believe, like all of us here, I believe, we are those people next. And I get scared. I'm like, whoa, if we don't do it, who's going to do it? And I believe that, it's going to sound selfish, but I believe that I'm one of those people that needs to be there. That's a super selfish thing to say, but like, I believe what we all say here is powerful, and I believe it can change the industry. So, and yeah, I needed to find that platform, and I just went and got it. I was like, all right, I believe I can do that. I saw the people who've done it before, and I had conversations with those people, like, I can do that. And that's why I did it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I think it would be another nice question to kind of wrap up the podcast would actually be nice, because if we do this again in a year's time, it would be nice to kind of reflect on this question.
Yeah.
But yeah, where would each of you like to see yourselves at the end of the F.A.M.E Team experience? Like, what would you like to see in yourself at the end? What kind of level of growth, or what experiences, or where would you like to be in yourself by the end of the year? And then we'll talk about it in the next one.
I think just, for me personally, a better version of me. A calmer, more well-rounded, more skilled. I feel like I'm a bit of like master of all trades, jack of none. Is that what, jack of all trades, master of none? That's it, isn't it? And I feel like, just upskilled, more confident, just a better version, like they for the next generation, so I can be a better person and a better educator and a better influence for the people around me.
It's beautiful. I think that's why, get back to the selfish thing. It's not like I was saying, it's not really a selfish thing, because it's all for the next generation. I don't care anymore. I've done all the shit I've wanted to do in my career. Like, it's almost, what is it called? The accomplishment fallacy, where when you actually do the thing, it's a bit like, oh.
Yeah.
So there was a part of me that, like in the back of my mind somewhere, it's like Australian hairdresser of the year. I could probably do that. Do I want to do it though? Because what do you do then?
Yeah.
It's like, so yeah, I'm happy with all the things that I've done, and I've got a bit of that in me now. I'm like, what? Yep, got some trophies, got some awards. All right, what am I going to do with that now? Let's start giving it to everybody else. And that's.
I think you also
massive for me.
Need that a little bit of that recognition from those awards and from those things to have the confidence in yourself to be able,
100%.
I have massive imposter syndrome with everything I do. I go on that stage when I'm teaching or in a classroom and I think, why are these people watching
You said
me?
that to me. Remember, I was chatting to you before the thing, and you were like, "Oh, imposter syndrome." I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here!" I was like,
100%.
"Out of all of us, you're one of the people that deserves to be here."
No, I've got the worst imposter. I think even any F.A.M.E Team, did I get it because I knew someone on there? Did I get this did I get this job because I like that person? I never think I got that because I deserve that and because I earned that. It's always I probably got it because I smiled a bit too much, or do you know what I mean? I think it's always something else.
Just a nice bird.
Everyone thought it was fun, so I got it. I think you need that confidence. That's what I want to get from this is to walk into a room and think, actually I deserve to be here.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm bringing to the table, and it's worth it. I'm worthy of being here.
Back yourself and own your
Yeah.
shit, right?
I do. I spend a lot of time with going on courses and learning and asking people, but still, it's I got that information from them, so they know it, and I don't really. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's.
It's catching yourself in those moments, I think, because I have that too.
Yeah.
I definitely have moments where I think why did I get on the team? Or when I was even teaching with the crew at work, it's am I just repeating other people's information? Do I have something to contribute? And I think it's just catching yourself in those situations and actually going a bit deeper and not. Otherwise, I don't know how you'd break it down.
I think
just feeling like an
when you really
imposter all
think
the
about it,
time.
that's what life is. Nobody has a clue. Even today, we're talking about these things. You think one thing, I think nobody has a clue what's going on. We're all just bluffing it, hoping for the best.
We are.
And the same with hairdressers. Who says that putting that hairspray on is better than putting that spray on or not putting that spray? We're just giving it a go, and if it works, and just taking down that stress.
Like you said, that was something I struggled with when I was doing education first. I'm like, well, this isn't new information. It's no, it's not. You are literally repeating shit you've heard before. But that's where I had to remove.
Unless you're Laura McCowan and you've got this mad new information on one.
She's mental with it.
Blows everyone's mind.
But it's I just take the I out of it, take me out of it. Why do I have to come up with something new so much? It's spoke about this on another podcast. I'm almost just a medium for information. I just find some cool shit that I think will help some people, pass it to them. That's it.
I was having a chat to Charlene about it, and it
Yeah.
was kind of that, like, because I sat with myself and thought, like, well, yeah, what is education? Like, we're all passing it on from somewhere. And then I thought, well, I suppose it's one, I've put the time in to go and learn from all the people that I've learned.
And your experience.
And then it's my experience and I suppose my interpretation of how I've then used that information. And I mean, and you're doing it all for good intentions. Like, you're just wanting to share it back and pass on what you've learned through your experience. I feel like it just makes me, I feel better about it then. Like, it comes from a good place. So
We'll get there.
So yeah, how would you like to see yourself so long at the end of the year?
Ash, would you like to go next?
I would like to see myself. It's a hard question. It's even harder to ask. Like, why did you enter the FAME team? Because, like, obviously we had a reason why we did it. We didn't just do it because.
Why don't you start with, like, you said to us today you want to go into like certain magazines and what that'll make you feel and how that'll make, like, do it that way rather than personal.
Yeah, like I feel like what, like, are you talking about?
Because you were saying, like, you said, like, in a year's time I want to be in this magazine.
Yeah. So those are the sort of goals that I was kind of like have for myself. Like, these are the achievements that I want to get. But I think for me, it's like, I think what I want to get out of it is trying to find that sort of confidence to then be that person that creates things in an artistic way using hair as like the medium. Because I find like a lot of my work is, I'm not just doing the hair. Like, a lot of the shoots that I do, I'm doing the styling, I'm coming up with the concept and things like that. I'm that one of those people that's like, if I don't like the whole image or if I don't like the whole sort of look that we're going for, I don't like it, you know. And if it's not right, then it's not right. So it's like, I like to have every little detail perfect, and if there's too much of this, I'll pull that away. If there's too much of that, like, that's why I'm kind of like, even with like the final like presentation we did for the thing, there was so many different elements. There was like the huge hair, there was like the feathers, there was the guy in the heels, there was fishnets. Like, if you were to look at each element, it's quite full on, each element, but I don't know if you guys thought that, but for me it was quite soft and it worked.
was beautiful.
Really, like, just
So
sort of
beautiful.
flowed. So I think for me, like, what I want to get out of it is like finding that confidence, because like I find here in Australia, like, we're very like media and like what celebrities are doing, and that sort of driven in terms of like what our creativity should be in the industry and like what we should be offering to people in terms of clients or even our fellow hairdressers. Like, there are different ways of doing hair, there's different ways of like expressing and things like that. So I think what I want to get out of it in the long run of the FAME team is like find that confidence where it's okay with what I'm doing. Like, maybe people might look at my work and think, oh, you're crazy, but then other people can think, wow, like, what the fuck is that? You know, it's sort of like how when I look at Eugene Solomon's work, I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? But then some people would look at that and go, wow, you know, or like, ew, you know?
Yeah.
Like, everyone's got a different thing. So I think for me, it's like trying to find that balance of like that acceptance that maybe not everyone in Australia is going to appreciate what I'm doing. Because like, even like, I find like most of my like followers and things like that, or even my engagements are like not even really Australian. Like, I get a lot in Germany, there's even in Russia and the US, you know. So it's like, they love it, but it's like trying to find that confidence that maybe like Australia like needs to love it a little bit more.
Well, it's like even someone saying "ooh" is like, it's better than not noticing it at all. You know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
If someone looks at it and says, "Oh, that's not,"
We've had a reaction.
Yeah, and that's
They felt
intriguing. It's
something
like,
about it.
it's better than like having no reaction, because otherwise it's just common, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just walks past and nobody takes even any notice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What do I want to? Have you
Me.
been so long?
Confidence is definitely one thing coming on here. I feel like in my skill set, in myself, going on this self journey as well, like as a team. I think my, like, working on my public speaking as well, getting more confident at that. That's something I've definitely like worked on over the last year. And then coming into this, I thought it was a great opportunity for me to build on that. And just growth. I think overall, like finding my brand and really nutting that out. So then hopefully I can move into doing education or something on my own platform within TK. But yeah, just being a better hairdresser. I think just growing. So I've always wanted to, I'm a helper. So I've always wanted to just help and give back to others. So I think doing something like this is just going to make me a better hairdresser, a better person, and then have the confidence to back myself and pass it on.
We back you.
Yeah, where I want to be. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We'll help you navigate out.
We'll go deep, guys. We'll go deep.
Matt's great at cupping.
How about you, Lee?
Vision disturbs me.
It's a disturbing image.
We'll save that story for now.
It's a different type of podcast.
We'll have a
that
private.
one.
Yeah.
That's
That'll
after
be
dark.
for the
Yeah. Area after dark.
Fame Team only fans. Just all these weird conversations
Fame
on there.
fans.
For me, what do I want to get out of Fame Team, or what do I want to see? Where do I want to see myself? I think the big skill set thing that I wanted was creative vision. Like I wanted to develop my creative vision. I think that was massive, and I got that answered in like the second day. We had Jack, then we had Ricky, and it was like double dose. I was like, this is exactly what I needed. That was like exactly what I wanted from this, because I'd never met anyone who could explain it like that to me. And I'm one of the, again, thinker. I need those like every step to be, and it needs to make sense. I can't be like, you said this, but then number 5, that doesn't make sense. And then they both explained it beautifully. The way Jack broke like down color and all that was like just incredible. So I would like to see myself, because again, tinkering around in the back of that head somewhere is like Australian Hairdresser of the Year. I believe I can do it. That might be like a selfish thing, or people can believe what
Manifest
they want.
it.
Yeah, people can think what they want, but do I believe I could do it? Yeah, one day. I just know there's a ton of shit that I need to do, and one of those things is creative vision. I need to work out how to portray what I want to do, because that's what I feel like I lack the most. So I would love to see myself at the end of it have a much better hold on that and be much more comfortable and confident in the way that I think about that. Because even now, even though we've done that with Jack and Ricky, even at the moment, I'm still a bit like, it's hard still. And it would take me probably quite a while. And even I had those revelation moments with you last night where I was like, this is the name of a collection I'm going to do. It's coming to me in pieces, or I'd like to be able to get that bit more refined. But even just me and everybody, no one's really refined it that well, have they? Everyone's a bit like, it kind of comes from here and it comes to me over time. And
Do you save things on your Instagram?
Sorry?
Do you save pictures on your Instagram?
No.
So I do.
I screenshot things.
Yeah. So if you ever go through your start saving them. If you ever go
Yeah.
through your save thing when you're like stuck for Instagram, you'll see that you've got a flow of what you've liked for the last
100%.
3 months, or whether that be hair or colour or what pictures of random things that you follow. But yeah, you'll see that you might think I've got no inspiration, no idea. You look on that and you've got this like vision of where you've been for the last few months.
It's like a mood board.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
You'll have words and colours and shapes and you kind of like
And quotes and like anything,
it's like
yeah.
a theme there that I didn't even realise I was drawn to. Where you say like it was coming up for you. Like I feel like that's what it is. Something will just come up and you don't even realise you're going in that direction until you see it.
My saves like quite often, like for example, if I'm like working on a shoot for whatever it is, and they've given me somewhat creative control over the vision of like hair and stuff like that. That's the first thing I go to is my saves on Instagram, and I like look for inspiration of things like I'll save like these different things from like hair.
Because also you screenshot a picture and it's lost with 50 pictures that you've done in the academy, or 50 different videos and things, and trying to find them all and get them back together.
Yeah.
Or album it. Like
Yeah.
album on your phone as well. I sometimes do that because some things you need a screenshot. Or even Pinterest. Pinterest is great for that. But again, you can add your album and just keep everything categorized. So it's so much easier to go back and find your like ideas in one spot.
Yeah.
And I do want to say it's not selfish that you think you could be Australian hairdresser.
You're going to be.
Well, maybe one day. But that then again, yeah. That's like the competitive streak, There's something about competition that I'm just drawn to, whether that's
It's
me
fun.
being
It's
right
creative
or
outlet.
whatever it is. Yeah, it's a creative outlet, and that's what I think. That's another thing that trying to really hone in on how I express creatively, because sometimes I'm like, hair's not how I express creatively. Like I love music more than I love hair, and because he's playing a lot of bands, and like that's how I could do that all day. I could express creatively through music all day. But the thing that I get stuck in is the craft. So there's a weird thing that when I first started doing competitions in the UK, I used to do competitions with the National Hairdressing Federation, and it was a game of skill, not expression. So it was like everybody did the same haircut. Who did it the best? So it was that expression was never nurtured into me. It was always a game of skill. It was like who can use the tools the best, and that's how they explained it to me. When I was training, they were like, it's not about who does the most fancy haircuts, who can use her tools the best. And I think that's why I liked it, you know? So yeah, the creative expression through hair has actually been quite hard for me. I can do something creative which I think is creative. I just like weird and whack shit. Again, number 5, I want that like line of like individuality. So I'll just try and do some shit that I haven't seen before. But yeah, trying to like gel all that together in a creative vision and put it into a collection, I actually find it really hard.
But that'll come with practice and time.
Yeah,
And
and I think it's coming, and that's what I really wanted from this, was someone to just explain it to me in like a practical sense,
Yeah.
because it doesn't just come to me. I'm not like, I've got it, you know. It's like
yeah,
it
but I
doesn't
think
do
it's
that.
very rare
I
to find
kind
a
of need
person
like
that has that.
yeah.
I was gonna say, do you? Because you said you found a lot of inspiration from music. Do you find that you could like listen to a song and obviously that might evoke feeling, and then from there you can get an inspiration for a look? Because I feel like I do that with maybe being so emotional. It's more an emotional feeling I'll get from like a color or an outfit or
Yeah.
music. Definitely, like I'll listen to something and I'll feel something,
Yeah.
and I want to create that look to try and recreate that feeling, and that's a lot of inspiration comes
And that
from
I
there.
think that's where it's going now. So the word that I said to you last night, that emotes feeling in me, and it's like, okay, maybe I need to go that way more, you know. So that's cool. And the other thing I think, just have a kind of a. Remember I was talking to you last night about the social media thing being front of mind. Like again, I would just like to be front of mind when it comes to our business model and our brand and like, you know, hair education, you know, be like, all right, I don't even want to call it men's hair education because I want to start moving into bringing all hair to the platform that we have, and then just, okay, online hair education, are we front of mind? That's what I would like to be, you know, have that from the end of this as well. Whether that's going to happen, that's a big one. But that's kind of like where I'd like to see myself. Much better creative vision,
Yeah.
and have a better kind of process and around that, and then just be front of mind in terms of like, kind of that new age of hair education, you know, online or whether that's in person, whatever that may be, you know, a trusted source, you know. So
Fantastic. I look forward to following all of your journey over the course of the year.
I think
Yours.
there's one.
Yeah, you and your van.
There's one departing question that we always like to ask.
I'm scared.
What is
Hello,
it? Yeah, I was like nervous.
Be as open as whatever comes to your mind. The question is, who we're going to start with?
What's the question? Start at that end of the table for once.
Men first.
Men first this time.
Yeah, gentlemen first.
Gentlemen first. Are you happy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the question?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, that wasn't
That's
so
the,
bad.
You
yeah.
can elaborate as much as you want. You
Little
can say,
as
yeah,
much
you
as you want. Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, like I'm definitely happy. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah, this past, like, since COVID, like, the thing for me is like when we went into lockdown, like I lost everything. Like I didn't lose, like I've got it back now, but like I couldn't work, I couldn't be creative. Like I was locked in my apartment, and it was just like now, like I've come out of that dungeon of like not being able to do what I want, or not being able to do what I like need to do. You know, it's like if I'm not creating, if I'm not touching things, I'm not like doing stuff. Like I just feel really down. So like, yeah, I'm happy because it's like as soon as I came out of lockdown, I was like, well, what's going on? What's opportunities? Like, well, I need to grab this, grab that. So like for me, like I'm always happy. Like
Amazing.
it takes a lot to make me sad and like bring me down, but Do
you know what I think I've just remembered actually while you were talking as well? I've never heard anybody say it, or that you said at David's house, was they were talking to you about your social media and the way you are and stuff like that, and you said a really interesting line. You were like, I never do anything for validation.
Yeah.
Never hear people say that.
Yeah, I don't like
And that's what underpins, you know, because everybody talks to you about your social media, right? They're like, oh, post a reel, post it. I'm like, yeah, but you don't get it. Matt doesn't do this stuff for validation.
Yeah.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
That's stuck with me since you said that. I'm like, I never hear people say that.
Yeah, Lee said that to me as well. He told me about that.
Yeah, that was one of the things I told everybody about you. I was like, that is a key, because 90% of people do shit for validation. They do.
Yeah, they like, and that's why like with my Instagram, like the thing that I'm like struggling with at the moment is like, you know what I mean, I'm going into like these ambassador roles and things like that where I need to be more present in like me as a person. Whereas like for me, when I first started, it was like I wanted to be known for my work. You know, you look at like going back to the art reference, like, do you know what I mean? And it's like the artist isn't really known until they're dead. You know, it's kind of like not saying that I'm not gonna be known until
Mysterious.
You're mysterious.
do you know what I mean? Like, it's like also like you want to be known for what you're doing. Like you see like people on their Instagram, like their salons and stuff like that, and they'll be posting pictures of them like out drinking or like at the beach, and they're like in their speedos and things like that. Like you've got clients on there, and you've got like people that are on there looking at your stuff for inspiration, things like that. But then you've got like this other side. So like for me, I wanted to be known for my work. I didn't want to be known for who I am. And I'm a private person anyway. Like I did this exercise in lockdown where I was like curious to see who actually was engaging with my work. And so I opened up this conversation where I was like, ask me anything, like whether it's hair or whatever. That was the general thing. The whole thing went for 2 days. I had to like stop and then come back to it. But one of the questions that I was asked was like, what do you actually look like?
You know, who's saying that?
Yeah.
And so I was like a bit taken back by that. I was like, oh my God, so people actually don't know. Like that's how far I went into like making it like I just want to be known for my work and not for me. Like, because I'm not really that exciting anyway. But like,
But that's awesome. Like, people aren't attracted to just like how you look, you know, or like that other side of it, because that could be, if your goal is to like get your work noticed and you want people to feel your work as an artistic expression, that's what you've achieved, you know.
That's what makes
they don't
so
even
much
know what you
sense
look
to
like.
me.
It's like fucking cool. But then you step into the ambassador stuff, and then it's like, oh, you have to show your face here. And like I'm actually stripping all that back. I can probably say it now because this won't be out for a few weeks, but I've been working with Andis since I started doing hair. They give me a good platform with global education, all sorts of stuff, really cool things. But I'm in this kind of clearing out phase of my life, and that was one of the things that had to get axed. I'm like, I have to just know, like, that's not me anymore. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful for it. But I'm in that clearing out phase. So who's next?
Very powerful.
Love it.
Who's next? Who's getting axed next?
Salone,
I'll go.
are you happy?
I find happy an interesting one. I'd say yes, I'm happy overall, but that doesn't mean I don't have highs and lows. But I also think from going through, I feel like your lows are where you grow the most. At least I have in the past. So I feel like it's also, I am on the side of it's like a good challenge to go through. And I think I learned from being younger and not facing those moments to like work on it. So I feel like now just, like doing things like therapy and whatever else, talking about it, I've grown a lot. So I feel like overall I'm happy. I have very high days and I have days that are lower, but I think that's normal and it's good to face it.
Beautiful.
And
100%.
learn and grow from it. So who's next?
Maddie,
Maddie.
are you happy?
I'm always happy, you know me. No, I am
Life
happy.
of the party over
I
there.
am probably the happiest. I mean, I'm always happy, but I'm probably the most, let's say, content I've been in my life. I feel like I've worked so hard for so many years to get to this point. And I was saying to my friend the other day, like, I just want to enjoy it for a bit. Like, I'm always like, cool, educated, now what? Now this, now like, and not in like a greed or like a need more way. I love doing different things and being excited about things. But I think this time in my life, I'm really content doing what we're doing and exploring this and being happy. And I'm a super positive person. I'm actually like annoyingly positive. Like, I don't sweat the big stuff. I sweat this, like, I've lost a shoe, that's going to piss me off. Someone's died, we can work with that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, not like a nasty, don't be like, I can see a positive.
But that's true life. That's okay.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like, I can see a positive, like, I can see positives in most things, unless it's like,
That's
my hair's
bigger
looking like
picture
shit.
thinking, isn't it?
Yeah, like, my hair's looking like shit. I want to moan, I like to moan, it's good to moan. But about the big things, I'm quite...
It was like yesterday when was it yesterday or this morning? It was like something about a bad day, and you were like, not many bad days with me. And I thought you was going to be like, oh, you only have one a week. You're like, about 4 a year.
Like, I don't really.
You have 4 bad days a year. That's it.
I just got like, and I surround, like, my boss is the most amazing person in the world, one of my best friends, and my friends are just the most amazing people, and my family's amazing. Like, I just don't have bad people or bad things or bad situations around me. I just don't make that happen.
I need to be more like you.
Yeah. Do you practice gratitude, or is it just come to you naturally?
Yeah, I'm very grateful for everything in life. But I think that's again from the imposter thing. Like, I don't feel like I've earned it, so I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I've got that. That's great. I've got that. And I feel very lucky. I love life and I love my life.
Yeah.
Nice.
I feel like I'm a bit like that as well. Because you were there when we did the final presentations. With the
Yeah, within the same
I can't
team.
remember what the question was, and it was like, I was about to cry because I was like, I felt really grateful for like all the opportunities that I've had that have led me to this point, and that I was like, am I really deserving of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, sort of like that. Just I was like, do I really?
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like you find
Isn't it
enjoyment.
interesting how people perceive that though as well? You know, like people might perceive that in a certain way. They don't know what's really happening on the inside for people and in them situations, and like the imposter syndrome coming up. You know,
Yeah.
like somebody might see really positive, like excited
Oh yeah.
Maddie, but then not ever even put that in correlation with imposter
People
syndrome.
are always shocked, like, and especially when I say like you're all gonna laugh at this, but it's really, I'm not a confident person. Like I have to force myself to go into a room and be like, "Hi," like that's not me. Or do you know what I mean? Like it is me, but it's not like I don't feel comfortable doing that. It stresses me out. I don't like going into new environments. Like, but I do it, and I make sure I do it, and once I've done it, I enjoy it. But like, yeah, people always go, "You're so confident." I'm like, I'm really not. Like I'm really not a confident person, but to do things I want to do, I have to be. So I make myself confident. Like I feel sick before I do it. Like one of my best friends, actually, I'll tell you that story. When I first started teaching him, right before COVID, we used to travel a lot to teach. And she used to always say to me, you always feel sick the day before you go teaching. So I'd always be like, I don't feel well. Like, I don't think I can go tomorrow. And I would go and I would have the best time and I would do it and I would love it. But she'd be like, you always feel sick the day before. And I'm like, no, I do. I really can't go tomorrow now. And she'd be like, just get on with it. Like, and I do have that like anxiety and that stress, but you just can't show that, and you can't have that to do what we want to do.
Yeah, I think if you're not having some level of imposter syndrome, you're kind of doing it wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
You're not bad.
you need to get to a point of
You know what I mean? Like,
All right, mate.
Well,
yeah. You think you?
There's always a bit of you to kind of,
Yeah.
you know, and what you'll realize, you guys are probably meeting, like you were saying earlier, some of the people in the industry that you'd looked up to for years. And the more you surround yourself by them people, you realize that they all have an element of that too. Like nobody really knows what the fuck's going on, like we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
We all have it. Like we're all just humans at the end of the day.
What's really going on here?
Well, there's no rule book. There's no guidebook. So how do you know if you're doing it right or wrong?
Yeah,
That's
but
what
like I think it's like
always say
that.
How do
Where
I-
you find that imposter syndrome is like where you can like really flourish as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that point between like challenge and kind of like your skill level and getting that right, and it really can put you into like a good state of flow.
Yeah.
And if you just allow it to flow, then like the best stuff comes out when you have that feeling in you. So anyway, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure.
What about
Great
you?
thing.
What about
Yeah,
you? No,
really.
I think we should ask
Am
Owen.
I getting out of this?
No
Yeah.
way.
I think we should
Owen
ask Owen.
Emily.
We never asked you. I don't think anyone's ever asked
We'll
you.
go.
this.
I'll be the
Has anyone asked me
host.
what?
Are you
Are
happy?
you happy?
Am I happy?
Can't think
Because
about
we always ask everybody else.
My happiness is like
In the van.
I have core happiness, I would say. Yeah, I'd say at my core I'm happy, but I have my days where I'm not happy, and I have my days where Dobby comes in and tells me I'm not happy just to get me back to a certain place. So I think I'm in this kind of discovery stage of life. But yeah, the more I kind of step into doing things for me and not for anyone else, I'm getting to a better place of more consistent happiness. But yeah, it goes up and down like any mood. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm not.
You text me, I'll cheer you up. I'll
It's a
send you
nice way to
positive
put it.
text.
We've got a core happiness.
Yeah,
But then
like-
you still have
Levels.
that, yeah.
It's like there's a
ebbs and flows of
baseline.
it.
There's a baseline of it, and then most of the time I'm floating close to the baseline. Sometimes it spikes, sometimes it goes lower. But yeah, I would say at my core, I'm happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lee,
My turn.
are you happy?
No, I just sad all the time. Life's
I'm
just
miserable.
miserable. Hate everything. No, I actually I changed the word. I don't like to use the word happy. So I just
You made the
believe
word.
that I can't
You
be
made the word.
I can't believe happy all the time. So I changed it for myself, and I changed it to joy. So basically, I want to do things in my life more. If I can do more things in my life that bring me joy than don't, I'm happy. And that's it. Part of my happiness is understanding that I will be ecstatic at points and lower points. That's part of my happiness thing.
If you didn't have the low, you wouldn't know the happy.
Exactly.
My mum says that.
Yeah,
Well, that's true, isn't
yeah.
If you don't have the bad times, you wouldn't know
You
good
wouldn't know
times.
what's
Yeah,
good.
and it'd be so boring.
If you never rained, you'd never appreciate the sun.
Yeah.
Things
Yeah.
like that.
And so that's me. I've tried to do things in life that bring me joy, and I think that's kind of similar to Owen, like that discovery stage. I'm just weeding out what brings me joy and what doesn't. I think I'm so privileged to be at that point where I can choose those things. I think in life sometimes we're a little bit forced into certain corridors and certain things, especially in our industry. You be this, and all right, maybe it doesn't bring me joy, you know, and yeah, fortunately I'm at a point now where I can start to weed out things that don't bring me as much joy. But on the scale of it, if I can have more things that bring me joy than don't, then I'm happy. This brings me joy, so I'm happy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, so we actually wrap it up this time.
That's all right.
I've got one more question for you.
Maybe 75 years.
But yeah, no, thanks guys for
Yeah.
for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for coming to our
It's,
home.
it's nice to just have a chat, isn't it? Like
It
it's
is.
not it doesn't feel like so formal or
No.
a podcast or a social media thing. But I'm really excited to do round 2 at the end of the year.
Same.
See where you guys are at.
Yeah.
Might even
There's so much more on the table, yeah.
yeah, there's so much exciting things for you guys to
We
explore.
might not
this
be
year.
able to sit in the same room together by the
I
end of
know.
it.
After our overseas trip, I might be like,
I'm not sitting next to her.
Cubicles.
you over here, you over there.
We'll all be a lot further away.
Yeah, I'll be the mediator. It's okay. I'll bring
We
it
need
back.
5 cameras. All the different rooms. Cut to you now.
It'll be nice to bring Jack in next time too. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
Jack would
good.
bring a nice perspective to your growth as well by the time we get to the end of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, what a
Thank
great
you.
time.
Thanks,
Cool.
guys. It's been a
Thanks,
pleasure.
guys.